everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Before I start calling you out by names, good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Select Board meeting of June 24th. It's wonderful to see so many people here. My name is Jeannie Jenkins, and I have the pleasure of chairing this board, and I'm going to ask my fellow board members, starting with Sarah, to introduce
Hi,
themselves.
good evening. Sarah Perrin.
Excellent.
I'm Ed Woods.
Hi, Tom Haley.
Clark Adams.
Hi, I'm Jean Connor.
Thank you. And also with us tonight is Town Manager Stu Hurd, Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes. We have Jonas Spivak, who is making sure our AV is going to work well, and Josh Boucher, who is filming us for Cat TV, and we're live on Cat TV. So, as we always begin, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ed, would you lead us?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that's not me. Tom, would you please read the vision statement that guides our work?
I will. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is the consent agenda. And because we have 3 sets of minutes here, I'm wondering if I could have a motion to accept so we can have discussion on the minutes of June 8th. Are they June 8th? Yeah, here they are. Yeah, June 8th. Somebody make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Is there a second? Boy, this is going to be a long meeting.
Second.
Yeah. I'm just asking that whoever answers questions is identified in the minutes.
We haven't seconded it yet.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
Sarah seconded it. Any discussion? Nancy?
Yeah. Whoever answers questions at meetings, I'd like them to be identified. I think that's important when you look back at meetings, at minutes.
All right, super. Anything else? All right, with that note, all those in favor of the June 8th meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so 2 abstentions, Ed and Jean. All right. Then, for the purposes of discussion, can I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 10th?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Okay, Jean is an abstention. Thank you. And then, finally, for the purposes of discussion, can I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 18?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Sarah? All right. Now, could I have, for the purposes of discussion, could I have a motion for the warrants?
Motion to accept the warrants.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion on the warrants?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
On page 1, about a third of the way down, it says we're paying for a porta potty at SVC.
Can you give the number?
40, if that's right, 401116.
Thank you.
Yes, that porta potty is used by the folks who use the soccer field there, and we have an agreement with SVC where we are allowed to use the soccer field for recreational purposes.
And who are the teams using the fields?
I couldn't tell you the teams exactly.
Lacrosse is the main user. Lacrosse teams is heavily used.
They're town lacrosse teams.
It's the same as the fields that we use at Willow Park. It's an extension of that.
But they're town teams, they're not school teams.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. And down below, 401123, Bennington County Regional, $10,000 task-based agreement. What's that?
That's our standard agreement with BCRC for contracted work that we are doing with them.
So we're paying $10,000 a month,
No, no.
every other month?
No, it's a one-time
Okay.
payment.
Is this for the town plan?
I'll look at,
Yes, I believe it is.
thank you, Dan.
And on page 5, there's no number right at the top. Training, lodging, food.
It's a continuation
Who
of,
did we send for training?
Those are all related to highway and sewer folks. Also includes some fire department and police. So it's all a matter of a number of agencies, departments were receiving training and education. We provided food and lodging for those who had to travel.
And on the last page, VLCT, $1,000. 401197.
Passive. It's your insurance.
I'll get there.
Insurance.
That's related to our deductible. When you see the DED, that is a deductible we pay. We
Okay.
have a $1,000 deductible in
All
property
right.
claims.
Thank you.
All right.
Can you, on the first page, 401121, looks like we bought a vehicle. Can you just,
That is correct. This is the GMC Sierra is a police, no, I'm sorry, it's a highway vehicle, and we purchased it using some of the excess funds that we have available to us. It was a vehicle that was scheduled to be purchased, but we used excess funds so that we could preserve taxpayer funds on that particular purchase.
great. Other questions on the warrants?
Where are the excess funds?
The excess funds were generated this year because of the high interest rates on our investments and on our cash on hand. Normally, in days past, we were receiving very, very small interest rates. Given the change in banking and inflation, we are receiving much greater interest payments. So where we were expecting a $160,000 to $200,000 a year in interest on our investments, we're receiving much more than that. And we outlined this for you several meetings ago, where we were going to be making purchases using those excess funds to avoid having to rely on taxpayer funds for those purchases.
All right. If there are no other questions, all those in favor of the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. All right, super. All right, next up is public comment. Is there anyone who would like,
licenses separately since we did.
oh, yeah, did we miss those? Okay.
Yep.
All right, licenses, sorry. Sorry, this one didn't have to be pulled out. Can I have a motion for purpose of discussion?
A motion to accept the licenses as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for noting that. All right, on to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak who has not signed up? This is for items that are not on the agenda. Oh, Margate, did you want to speak? Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, it is supposed to be announcements. There are plenty of chairs. Come on in, please. All right.
Hi, I'm Mark A. Diamond. I'm a resident of Bennington, and I'm also the director at Turning Point Recovery Center. And we just wanted to make a quick announcement tonight about an event that we're holding this fall and gearing up towards. And I wanted to introduce Marcel Holland, who's one of our coaches. Marcel does many things, and one of them is that he's a recovery coach at Turning Point, works in the emergency room, does a lot of different things for us. But he's the lead on this event, so I'm going to let him share that with you.
All right, thank you. My name is Marcel Holland. I'm a resident here. I also work for the Turning Point. First, I want to thank the town for allowing us to work with Mark Sawyer to build the Garden of Hope, which you can see down in Merchants Park. 3 beautiful, deep flower beds with a nice gold sign placed on there. Just a place for people to find some solitude and a place of peace for some. Also, on September 7th, we are also doing the Soberfest, which the vision is this becomes as big as Garlic Fest. There'll be 7 live bands. We have about 30 vendors. We have a yoga area. We'll have a wellness area. We'll have a kids area. We thank the town for their help in that as well. We feel this is very well needed. We've heard from a lot of people asking for an event like this. And as you know, this is a pretty big topic these days. So we thank you for your support on this, because it's definitely important. So thank you.
What was the date again?
September 7th at Willow Park.
7.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great. We look forward to it. Maria Corrales, Declaration of Inclusion.
Hello, my name is Maria Corrales, and I'm a resident of Bennington, Vermont. I wanted to bring up the issue of Declaration of Inclusion because one of the sentences that stands out is fair and equal treatment. And this podium shouldn't only be for select people, like you have to be part of a club or a membership or a color or a religion or a creed. It's for the people. So I think it has a psychological impact. It's almost like these were the chosen one and those are the low ones, and I don't think that's fair. So I think that we, as you represent us, you know, and our voices matter, and I think everyone should have the right to use this podium, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And I hope everyone understands that you sign up for public comment so that your name is in the record. And it's sometimes we end up with sounds like instead of your real name if you don't write it down. So everyone, please, Maria, please. So everyone that would like to speak can speak. So Maria, please.
Corrales.
I'm sorry?
Maria Corrales.
Yes?
That's how you say it.
Okay.
Hear it now? You said some people didn't understand how I said my...
Oh, I didn't mean you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Maria,
No.
we're all set, thank you.
No, we're all set. All right, Wendy Lyons, Lemp, which you'll explain.
Hi, my name is Wendy Lyons, Lyons, and I'm from Bennington. And I'm here to represent Bennington Organizing Action. With me to show support is Jack Roster Munley. Our purpose today is to let you know that we are concerned about the well-being of our community members during extreme weather, such as the recent heat wave. Prolonged heat waves are especially perilous as they do not allow for sufficient cooling overnight. The strain on the body is continuous. Sustained heat can result in health emergencies and even fatalities. Extreme heat causes more deaths than any other weather hazard. These extreme weather events will occur more frequently with each year. It is crucial to prepare and safeguard our community proactively. This is why BOA organized the Extreme Weather Preparedness Community Action in April and requested modifications to the local emergency management plan, including additional sections addressing extreme weather preparedness and criteria for implementing the LEMP. We urge our public officials to take these LEMP updates seriously and act promptly to make changes, not just for the future, but for the present. We appreciate the town administration's efforts last week to provide cooling options for those in need. However, the hour service and accessibility of those resources ultimately do not adequately meet the community's needs. We hope to see more comprehensive preparedness plans added to the LEMP immediately and implemented without delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Jack, you're up next. Jack Rossiter-Munley for Community Cafe.
I thought I might be. Hi, Jack Rossiter-Munley from Bennington, Vermont. I'm here to talk about the Bennington Community Cafe. It is a pay what you choose pop-up restaurant, open every Saturday from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at 200 Pleasant Street, which is also known as St. Peter's Episcopal Church. It's in the parish hall there. I am here because we are actually going to be having our first community cooking evening this Wednesday. That will be at 6 o'clock, also in the kitchen at St. Peter's, and this is the first of what we hope will be many chances for people throughout the Bennington community to come together and do some cooking. And then the food that everybody makes together will be part of what gets served at the community cafe. So we are thinking that we're going to start off with a soup, lots of hands to cut the vegetables that'll go into it. Seems like a good plan. And then we have a lot of other recipes in the works. So recipes, ingredients, kitchen equipment, all of that is provided. All you have to do is show up and be ready to help out 6 o'clock at 200 Pleasant Street here in Bennington on Wednesday. Thanks.
Wednesday. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, great. Something I actually had meant to say before public comment started, and I forgot. I just wanted to note that something really lovely happened at the last meeting, and I think we all recognized it, and it actually did get acknowledged, but it wasn't until I got a couple of comments from the community that it really struck me how lovely it really was. It was the agenda item on Shire's housing, and at that meeting, 3 residents of Cora B, and Cora B is managed by Shire's, stood up, and they came to the podium because they had a real problem at Cora B, and they wanted to make sure that it was heard and that it could be addressed. And that agenda item ended up taking almost an hour, and it was a very well-spent hour. I think what was so remarkable about it was that it was very civil discourse, even though the people who were being impacted were, they were living in Cora B. The problem, it was an elevator problem, was one of the problems, but there were multiple problems. But they were civil, they listened, Shires was civil, they listened, and I think, at the end, the audience broke out in spontaneous applause, which doesn't happen all that often at select board meetings, and I think it was because everyone recognized that we spent a lot of time and we worked through some stuff, and in the end, it felt like we were in a good place, and we were all very respectful of one another. And I think as a result of that, the town and Shires have had some conversations about how to speed along some of those repairs. And I think it was just a great example of how we don't have to be angry in order to make things happen, but honestly listening and respecting each other goes a long way. So anyway, I wanted to again thank the 3 individuals from Cora B that were brave enough to come and share and be persistent, and it was a lovely meeting. So anyway, all right, so setting that aside now.
May I ask a question?
Can you ask a question? Sure.
Well, I have something to add to that conversation. I went to Cora B last week, or do you want me to save it for other business?
Probably other business.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So next up is a skate park update. Shannon, it looks like you're coming to the podium.
Yay. All right. This is exciting. Okay, everybody. Well, first I just want to acknowledge all the people here. So whoever's here to support the skate park, if you want to stand up. All right. That's exciting. And that's really why we're here. You can all sit down. And I promise I'm not going to spend too much time because you're taking time out of your busy evenings to come to the select board meeting. So thank you all. But really, that's why we're here. So the skate park update. We're going to move along and get to our agenda items here. But it really started with, I guess I have a clicker today. So I might have you, there you go. I'm gonna have you do it, Jonah. My clicker's not working too well. So it really started with the community need that was identified by many of the people who are here in the room. So the town, when we started to prioritize our American Recovery Plan Act funding, we started to really ask people, how do you want to spend this money? So one of the things that really kept rising to the top was the idea of a skate park. So it didn't come from the town staff, it really came from community members, and I think that's important. So the other piece of it, the more that we started to research it within our town staff, we realized that skate parks are a really good investment. Concrete skate parks provide more than a decade with no substantial maintenance, and they really are just monetarily a good investment. They're also a great way to bring people together of all ages and really strengthen community development and economic development. So this photo is from the Manchester skate park that was built and designed by Grindline, who is also who the town of Bennington is working with. And if you've ever been up there, it's a real attraction. So that's what we want to build with the Bennington skate park project. If you want to go to the next one. So the timeline, just to give you all an update on kind of how we got here, this really started in 2021 when the skate park was identified as a priority for ARPA funds. Then the select board approved a $5,000 ARPA fund for the design, the first initial design. Then we brought that back, thanks to, I saw Jeff Metcalf over here, who first brought that design to the select board, and there was a presentation about that, and we decided to start meeting as a group and form a skate park committee. So the folks who are on the skate park committee, if you want to raise your hand, just, I know not everybody's here, but they've really been the driving force behind this project. Thank you, guys. And it's a really great group because it's like multi-generational. So you have folks that, have been skating who are, I'm not going to say how old you all are, but, you've been skating for a while. And Nick Piedmonte, he used to run the Cutting Edge, which was an indoor skate park here in Bennington. And then Cliff Dayton and his brother here, they started skating there when they were teens, and now they're on the committee. And then we also have the newest generation. So Simon Wells is here with us too, and he's a student at Mount Anthony High School. So it's really a great group. And they presented that initial design, started to work with staff to also identify who could be our design builder for the project, which they let us know about Grindline because they had the connection to the Manchester skate park. And Grindline is a really renowned firm that's worked across all over the US and even globally with over 250 skate parks that they've built. So that was kind of how that process began. And then the select board in January approved the town staff working closely with this committee to do fundraising to really meet the total goal of the cost of the project because it's an expensive project. So we have actually met that goal, and we did it in really record time, which was pretty amazing because we were authorized by the select board to move forward. We started to meet in late January, February, got some training on fundraising, and then basically in 4 months have met the goal of $300,000. So that's really incredible. Thank you. And as town projects go, they don't always move that fast. So it's to be commended that everyone has really stepped up for this project. So if you want to go to the next one, just a quick summary that it's been a 3-year effort from the initial idea of using some ARPA funds to a shovel-ready project. So now we have construction drawings, we're ready to go. And it's also been a very successful community fundraising effort, which also included grant applications that the town applied for through the Community Development Office. Over half of the project cost is from both federal and state funds. And the Penny for Park Fund is the only municipal tax contribution. So we've really been able to get a wide variety of funds. Grindline and the Skate Park Committee also worked closely, thanks to our committee members, to to really refine the design and actually save us money and come up with a better design. So Dan Monks is going to talk about that.
Thank you. For those that don't know me, I'm Dan Monks. I'm the Assistant Town Manager for Bennington. Just a quick moment of reflection. We work on a lot of different projects in town for the select board, for the staff, for the manager, et cetera. And this is by far the most fun I've ever had, working with the folks in the skate park committee. They're excited and optimistic and just a pleasure to work with. And I'm so glad that we're so close to the finish line on this. So. Just wanted to go over the plan. So this is the existing conditions. This is the Bennington Station here. This is Rotary Park, People's Park, as some folks call it, and this is the existing parking lot. So those are the conditions, and please yell at me if I'm not yelling, if I'm not being loud enough. But those are the existing conditions, and this is the general area where we plan to build the park. So next slide, Jonah. So this is the final design. It's a little different than the initial design, and I feel really proud of it as a team because we listened to folks from the skate park committee, we listened to folks from the public. Folks are really concerned about these cherry trees. So the initial design, although did preserve most of them, there was some risk that they could get damaged in construction, et cetera. So we have instead of trying to fit the park in here around the trees, we have moved it into the parking lot, and this is the outline of the concrete portion of the park, and then we get all this additional green space as well. So if you look at the impact of this is existing green space. It's creating a very large downtown park with an exceptional skate park. I have a couple of more renderings here just to kind of give you an idea of what the site will look like. So this is the existing site, just a satellite photo here, and this is the portion where the skate park will go. Next, Jonah. And so this is just a very crude representation of where the skate park could be. But it essentially doubles the size of the park. So it creates a beautiful green space, very welcoming for folks in the downtown. So next slide. And this is a 3D rendering of the park. I'm going to go ahead and read something from Cliff, who is the de facto chairperson, although we were very informal, Cliff Dayton, of the skate park committee. And this is just a outline of the features. And since I'm not a skater, they don't mean a lot to me, but they're going to mean a lot to folks who are going to be skating this. So, and I'll point out the ones I know and some of them I don't. So the first feature that we hope to construct, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is the full bowl here. And that's the area where we hope to, in phase 2, build a building over that to make it a four-season use. But that's designed to mimic the cutting-edge bowl that everyone talked about that was located in the Benmont Mill, or the Holden Leonard Mill, excuse me, in the late 90s and early 2000s. And so that was, I'm told, quite an attraction for the skate folks, for skate park skateboarders. This here is the Snake Run. And I'm told it's a feature rarely seen on the East Coast, great for beginners and experts with multiple levels and heights. And then the rest of these, I'm not going to point out because I don't know what they are, but I think folks in the audience will know. There's a spine ramp, which is a classic feature that is great for all sports, bikes, scooters, and skateboards. And that is an important thing about this. This is an inclusive park. It's not just for people on skateboards. It also is meant for folks on bikes and scooters, et cetera. So really meant to serve lots of different users. There's also banks and ramps. And rails and grind boxes. Those are the features Cliff mentions the park design does an amazing job of fully using the entire space by incorporating various banks and quarter pipes on the sides of the snake run feature. It improves the flow of the park, opens up new lines, and also saves overall building costs by adding onto existing features to save materials and labor. Basically, we used every square inch of the park in the design. And that's a credit to the skate park team, because certainly nothing that Shannon and I could do, but the skate park team were all over this and really helped us work with Grindline to design an efficient park, so we got a big bang for the buck. And I will note, in Cliff Notes, the skate park team has put hundreds of volunteer hours into ensuring this is the best design, many phone calls, house meetings, visiting and measuring out other skate parks for reference, and even creating 3D renderings and videos. And Cliff Notes, the skate park will bring people from far and wide to visit Bennington, Vermont, and we agree. So thanks to Cliff and his team for really helping us out on getting to where we are today. So next slide is just another kind of 2D rendering of showing the same features. So just another way of looking at that design. So thank you. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Shannon once again to just talk about our fundraising efforts, and then I'll be back to wrap it up. So thanks, Shannon.
Great. So I mentioned that we had a successful campaign, and just to go back to the funding strategy, we started with the ARPA funds, and so the Select Board approved 1/3 of the funding coming from ARPA, 1/3 coming from donations and grants that was led by the Community Development Office and the Skate Park Committee, and then the final third coming from the Penny for Parks municipal tax. So we also want to send a big thank you to the state. The Agency of Commerce and Community Development helped support this project with a $200,000 grant from their Vermont Downtown Transportation Fund. So that was a huge incentive for us to really be able to raise the rest of the funds. And I think the state recognized that this is community and economic development, and they've seen it successful across the state. So they were excited about it. It's really also a way to add to the Riverwalk improvements that the town has been making over the last several years, because the skate park is at the end of the Riverwalk. And now we want to, if you want to go to the next slide, really thank all of our generous local donors, because without all of these individuals and organizations, this would not be happening, literally. So I just want to give a special thank you to our anchor donors who gave $10,000 to this project. That's the Bank of Bennington. You have Jim Brown here from the Bank of Bennington, and Simon Wells, our youngest member of the Skate Park Committee. Also, the Vermont State Employee Credit Union gave $10,000 to support the skate park. Next one. Also, all of our generous donors who gave at the $5,000 to $2,500 level. This photo is the Bennington Sports Foundation. They gave a $5,000 donation, and you should learn more about them. They're doing great work in Bennington. They really helped us to launch our crowdfunding campaign. And MSK Engineers also gave a $5,000 donation. And our medical center, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, gave $2,500. And then, next slide. I especially, was just so impressed with all of the local businesses that wanted to support this project. So I wanted to, I'm not going to be able to name everyone who gave, but those who gave at the $1,000 level, Tri-State Area Federal Credit Union, Jim Martinez is there, Heritage Family Credit Union, Community Bank, all donated $1,000. Callert Construction, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right. Is it Shania or Chanel? Shania Moore Builders, Colco Incorporated, Concrete Impressions, Dwyer's Four Seasons, H&B, which is Paul Cummings. Is Paul Cummings here? I don't think he is, but he really helped with fundraising, so thank you, Paul. M&M Plumbing, Putnam Block Hospitality, Shaftesbury Insurance Agency, and TPW Realty. Thank you to all of those. And also those that gave $500, the Apple Barn, Goldstone Architecture, Pownell Center Community Church, and Stewart Shops. Thank you. And then just, again, I'm not going to name every single person, but many on this list and more, who remain anonymous, who all donated to our crowdfunding campaign. So that was also something supported by the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. They have a Better Places grant. If you raise, in this case, it was because it's for permanent infrastructure. If we raised $20,000, then they matched us with a $40,000 grant. And we were able to do that in just a little, it was about in 1 month. So thank you to everyone who made this possible.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, so now we get down to the nitty-gritty, building this thing. So, little history. The original estimate for phase 1 only, which is everything but the large bowl, and it didn't include the building, obviously, because phase 1 was never contemplated the building, was about $916,000. And the original estimate for phase 1 in just the bowl but not the building was about $1,024,000. So working with the skate park committee, working with Grindline, usually prices go up, but we actually got them to go down. And so phase 1 in the Grindline construction contract proposal is $826,000, so a $90,000 savings, which we're really happy that we were able to get to that. And then phase 1 and the bowl, but without the building, we have a proposal from Grindline for $973,000. So we have raised in excess of $900,000, so we're very close. We're well past phase 1, and we know we can construct that with cash on hand. What we hope to do is also construct the bowl as well, given that it's such an important feature. And we have identified already a savings of about $49,000 in in-kind work and other materials donations, so that we actually have a proposal that would cost about $924,000 for phase 1 and the bowl. So our gap is only about $24,000, and we're very confident that we can make that gap up, because that bowl is very important to this project, and it's something we didn't expect to do in phase 1. So we think we have a really good shot at getting that bowl built as well. So what the way the construction contract proposal is drafted is that phase 1, we will, if authorized tonight, we will contract to build, and the bowl will be an alternate that we will build if we identify savings and/or raise the funds necessary. So that's the way that's drafted. Is the bowl is an alternate, but we are very confident, especially given Shannon's fundraising prowess, that we will get the bowl constructed. But if anybody's out there who wants to help us get to the finish line on the bowl, send us a check, call Shannon. We'll be happy to add your name to the list of donors here. So that's where we are on the construction contract and the funding. So we are hopefully at the finish line of the funding and at the beginning of the construction. And what we would need from you folks as the select board is to approve the final design as we've presented it this evening, and authorize the town manager to sign the contract with Grindline as proposed, with phase 1 being locked in and the bowl being an alternate, subject to getting the additional funding for that through fundraising and in-kind work. So those are our two big asks tonight. I am told by Grindline that if you folks give us the authorization this evening, they are very likely to be able to begin construction in July and complete by the fall, mid to late fall. So we might have this thing actually up and running before the snow flies, which is really something we're excited about. And so I will pass it to you guys, because...
All right, thank you so much.
Can I make that motion now, then?
So we'll start with Select Board. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to make that motion so we can get moving.
Can we hear from you?
Yeah.
Okay. You can make the motion, but let's wait first. Any questions?
I have lots of questions.
Okay, just ask 3, and then we'll let others...
Just tell me when to stop and... I'll remind everybody that for over 2 years, I've said I've supported a skateboard park in Bennington for the right location and the right price. When people were asked to vote in January of 2022, no one knew where the park would be located. No one knew how much it was going to cost. I don't think many town taxpayers know that they're getting charged $300,000. I don't understand why we're approving a design tonight. In 2022, I think it was June, or right around then, Dan announced this was a two-phase project. It would cost about $1.2 million. There would be a building in Phase 2. It would be supervised. The people supervising would have space to sell some of their merchandise to pay themselves. And this is the part that concerns me. All of the parks I've been looking at in Vermont, the ones that exist now and the ones other towns are working on, none of them are doing a building because I don't think any other select board would ask their local taxpayers to fund the building. That's where the cost will be to the people every year. Water and sewer, insurance, maintenance, utilities. No other town is doing this, plus you add on to the fact it's going to be free, not just for people from Bennington, but for people all over. I don't know if you're still talking, how much is the building for Phase 2, Dan? Is it $700,000?
We don't have that information, but based on the original estimate, I'd say it's probably a $400,000 to $500,000 building, but we're not, just to be very clear, we're not here to ask for authorization for the building this evening. That is part of Phase 2, and that will be a second and distinct issue for the Select Board to discuss and hopefully approve. We would not look to the taxpayers to build that. We would look to fundraising for that. But that's Phase 2 and not before the board this evening, just to be clear.
But it does say on the website the town will maintain it, and that's the people of Bennington. If we're talking just the concrete park, it's concrete and drains. That's very low when you're throwing the building into
Nancy,
there.
I'm going to ask you
The
to
building's
stay on
not
Phase
part of this
1.
evening. Yeah.
We're just discussing Phase 1 tonight.
Phase 1 in the bowl, which will not be part of this initial construction will not include a building.
And can you explain why in January or even June of 2022, a notice wasn't put on the town website, please donate to the park? As I've said at other meetings, all the parks that I'm reading about people are working towards getting, they're citizens-driven. The committees, it's a grassroots effort. Other people are joining. They're getting businesses. We've had 2 years to do that, and it sounds like this just started a few months ago. I don't understand why we're paying a professional fundraiser. Has she already been paid $10,000?
No, we didn't pay the $10,000. That was up to that amount, but we did not pay that. It was much less than that. Yeah.
And we did see the money that's already been raised.
Yeah.
So we already have that information that was shared with us, the 3-part fundraising. We also, so I think, so what we're doing tonight is discussing any outstanding questions that you have before we actually vote on approving this.
I'm very disappointed to look at the design. I'd love to see the measurements. For 2 years, I've heard a lot of people are going to want to go, sit, watch, just enjoy themselves. I don't think you're going to have enough space. I think people will be in the parking lot. You've talked about competitions. A lot of people will go. I would want to have room to put up bleachers. There isn't anything else to do there if you're not skating. I mean, we have Willow Park. There are many things that people could do. There's a lot more space.
Okay, so you're objecting to the location. Is there anything else that you want to add before we allow?
I'm objecting to the cost. I'm objecting to the point that we haven't discussed the total project.
Okay, so we're discussing Phase 1 right now. So if there's anything on Phase 1, we know the cost, we know how much money has been raised, which is in excess of what it costs. We know the location. We've listened to individuals who wanted to keep the green space, and we have done that, and so now we have double the size of Rotary Park. We've doubled that size. Anyone else have comments, questions? Jean?
This is just a question. It's not going to sway my vote no matter what you say.
No pressure then, right?
Yeah, no pressure. Assuming we raise the $24,000 additional dollars, will the bowl be built during the same?
Yes. This is dependent upon us raising the money before they demobilize. And so, but we do feel confident we'll get there.
Oh, I'm confident as well. I was really hoping that it would all be done at the same time, and the
And it will be
answer
all
is
done,
yes.
it will all be done at the same time. And again, this is an alternate, so we're not locked in if the contract is signed, if for some reason we fail to raise the funds. But it is an alternate that we expect to implement.
Yes.
I just have one quick question, Dan. The fundraising period, the public outreach is still out there. It's still available.
Yes.
And you talked about financial donations, but you've also talked about in-kind material and labor donations.
Yes, absolutely.
All of those options are still available to the public.
Yes, and in fact, given the list of contractors that have donated, we're going to hit them up again for some free work. So
There's some good people out there.
yeah, some people that know what they're doing when it comes to moving earth around.
I really appreciate keeping the cherry trees there that were donated from Rotary in another country to the Rotary Park. So thank you for keeping that design. That was really important to Rotary and myself.
And we credit some folks that have made some comments here before at public meetings, and also the skate park committee for recognizing that it was really important. And in the end, we came up with a design that provides more features at a lower cost. So it was actually a win-win for everybody, and we're really excited about that. And it's a process that really worked.
That's great.
I have more questions.
All right, go for it.
Dan, can you go back to the first slide?
Jonah can.
The next one that gives the timeline. Wasn't there a presentation in 2022, the 3D presentation?
So there was a presentation in March of 2022 when we...
Okay, is that where we saw the 3D? I thought we saw one in 2022 and one in 2023, where it was 3D and you could go around and see everything.
You wouldn't have seen that in 2022 because that was when the funds were approved for the 3D and the conceptual design. That would have been the next meeting in June of 2023.
And I really need to understand why, I think it was 2 years ago, Gene asked the question, who would build the park in Bennington? And you said, well, there aren't a lot of groups that do that. I realized that. I know Grindline has a great reputation. But I'm sure some of the skaters here know about Parker Construction. They did the bowl, or they did the park in Brattleboro. They did the big park in West Leb, New Hampshire. Parker's a skater for 30 years. He's worked on different parks in Vermont. I think it was just earlier this year, I think it was Ludlow. I don't know who Standard Construction is. They beat out Parker and Grindline for the park there. So I really think when you're talking $900,000, we should have put out a request for proposals and designs. I mean, why wouldn't we have wanted all of the groups that were qualified to give us designs to pick from those?
So Nancy, that Grindline was chosen over a year ago, and we've been working with them to bring the price down and design a park that the skate park committee and the staff are comfortable with. We've had their cost estimates reviewed independently by our engineer to make sure they're in line and appropriate. So we are very, very confident that we are getting a big bang for the buck by working with Grindline to get this project across the finish line.
Dan, if I could just interject here, that was the recommendation of the public and the committee and the staff at the time, and this board authorized your team to do so.
We were specifically authorized, so
thank you.
I know that, Nancy, you weren't on the board at that time, so you didn't get to vote on that, but we followed the direction of the select board, and that's what they approved us doing, and that's what we did.
Any other questions from this, Jean?
This is a fun question. Seeing that many of us have never seen a skateboard park be built and never will again, probably, is there a way that the public can watch the process safely?
I think we might be able to, we're going to have to cordon off the area, but that for those areas that are outside of the active construction zone, there should be plenty of areas to be able to watch it happen, yes. We won't sell tickets, but hopefully we'll have made enough money by then we won't have to sell tickets.
This is a follow-up to Jean's question, and it's more of a comment. Maybe some sort of memorialization by video of progress would be...
That's a great idea, yep. And we do have lots of folks on the skate park committee who know their way around a video camera, so that's a great idea.
That's great.
Dan, if the park is a big hit, do you have room to expand it there?
Absolutely. I do think we do. But again, our next goal would be, subject to the select board's approval, is getting the indoor facility completed, because we think that's a very unique attraction for a
So
skate
to
park.
expand it, do you mean going into the parking lot?
That would be the most likely direction, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And looking at the bowl, is that going to be right up next to the river?
Jonah?
No, the park is
So
next to the river.
it is, so relative, the river is here. I should use my pointer, right? That's why I brought it. The river is here, so it's significantly far away, and it's outside of what they call the floodway, which is the most sensitive area where they would expect to be significant flooding, and where you don't really want to have a structure in the way to impede the flooding. So we've designed the whole park to stay out of the floodway.
Is there going to be a pathway where people can walk between the skateboard park and the river? Is there going to be green space left there?
Yes, this is all going to remain green space, outside of here. All of this area will remain green space. The path will remain, and we will connect it so that there's a path that circumvents the entire skate park, and then this path, the bike path, will continue along where it is now, a little bit, relocated a little bit towards the building.
Okay. And I'm looking at the bowl at the bottom, correct?
Right here.
And is that right where you enter the park? Or does it sit back?
So when you say where you enter the park, this is Depot Street here, so you enter the park here.
Sorry, I'm talking if you were going to the farmer's market and you went in through that little walkway.
The farmer's market.
So the farmer's market.
When it used to be there.
Yeah, so the farmer's market did kind of take up this area right here. Yep.
The size of this compared to Manchester, is this going to be as big as Manchester?
Yes, okay. Anybody know for sure? It's the same or bigger? Okay.
And the line of trees, will the line of trees run in front of the park, the skate park?
17,000 square feet.
So when you asked about the line of trees, the cherry trees that you're talking about, these will remain. They will not, they're just going to stay exactly where they are.
And the skate park will be behind there, correct?
The skate park will be within the parking lot. So this is basically edge of pavement right here, currently.
So you aren't going into the parking lot at all, are you?
Yes.
So actually, it's a significant portion of the parking lot, yes. It's all park, the entire skate park is now in the parking lot. Joni, do you want to show the next slide? Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, the blinking is good.
And that's a pretty crude, rough estimation, but that gives you an idea.
How many parking spaces will be lost?
About 25 to 27, depending upon how you count it, yeah.
Okay. And the four-story building that's approved for Tuttle's, some of the people that move in there, if the building is built, are going to have to go down there to park because there won't be parking on the Tuttle's lot. If you're taking, I'm shocked now. That's why I haven't been able to figure out the plans.
Nancy, they're in your packet.
I've looked in the packet, I looked online.
What I'm going to say is that we can't, like, if Tuttle Lot gets built, then that will be a different discussion. But right now, we're looking at the skate park.
So I just wanted to mention one more thing about the design that I failed to mention earlier. And that is, I think...
Can you go to the site plan?
Yeah, that might be a little bit easier to see on the site plan.
Keep going back.
Keep going to where you see the green around it. This is important because not only are we leaving, I guess I'll take the, here we go. Where's the, not only are we leaving this whole green space and the trees, like we've mentioned, and the river walk, but we're actually adding green space right here. We're adding green space here, as well as more tree plantings. And we're connecting the walkway across the river walk to the rail trail. And this will now be a pedestrian-only area, so you won't be able to drive in right here. We decided that would be, make it safer for all of the different users of the park, and it allows us to add more landscaping and some wayfinding for our trail system. So I just forgot to mention that the first time.
So the Depot Street access will be closed off.
Yes.
And is this the first time or in the past month that you're announcing that you're putting it not in the park but into the parking lot?
This is the presentation of the final design to the select board. That is correct. We have reviewed it for the permitting purposes with the DRB.
Well, that was last week.
Yeah.
So this is the first time everybody is finding out, rather than being in the park, where we've been told for 2 years, now you're putting it into the town parking lot.
Yeah, we discussed that explicitly in our presentation. Yes, Nancy.
Last week?
Today.
Any other questions from the select board? I think there are probably some people in the audience that would like to speak as well. Is it okay if we move to the audience? All right, Maria, please. Maria, if you would use this microphone so that Dan can respond.
It's
Please.
not a question for Dan. It's
So
a question
please
for
come.
White.
Yeah, Maria, please use this mic. You use this microphone, please.
But this is a podium for everyone.
So the reason,
Equity?
the reason is twofold. One,
I have one question only.
well, the major reason.
Are you going to deny me the same rights
Maria,
that everyone
will you
else has?
please just hold on a sec. You can speak there, but what you should know is that some select board members cannot hear as well.
I'll speak louder. How's that?
Okay, and Dan,
Thank you.
do you use the other microphone, please? Okay.
So, I'm not sure why you always have a problem with me. It's amazing. And then it gets me all riled up when I want to talk nice and then soft-spoken. What I wanted to find out is, in some other towns, they send out bids, like several, and for instance, Burlington had 2 bids. They started out in, they did the fundraising in 2008, they sent out 2 bids in 2013, and then they opened it in 2016. So I wanted to know, is that something that's similar in all towns, or is that why we don't have it that way? Is it not our policy and procedure? Is it something different in Bennington? Is our policy and procedure different than other towns?
Dan, this question was already asked and answered, but I think Dan can.
No,
go over it
bidding,
again.
bidding. Why didn't it go out to bid?
That was asked and answered.
So this is a little bit different than perhaps your typical highway construction project or something. We used the design-build process where we went out and sought a qualified contractor. We worked with them to design the project and bring costs down as much as possible. And we had the cost estimate reviewed independently by our engineer to ensure that it was appropriately priced. Not in every particular instance, no. If for these types of projects, you can use essentially a qualification procedure or a sole source procedure for these types of projects.
Dan, how is this any different than how the town went about getting the playground at Willow Park? The town knew what it was going to spend. It put out a request for proposals. You received, 5 or 6 different groups that submitted designs?
I don't recall how many people submitted.
It's just stunning that you do the same process a few years ago. You do a totally different process now. I just think it should have been fair to the people who are qualified. I think they all should have been given a chance. I mean, at $900,000, that alone is the most expensive park I'm aware of that anybody's talking about. And then if you're talking even $300,000 for a building, you can't skate on a building. I mean, I can think about the park we could have had for 1.2, 1.3 million if it was all on the ground, but I think this, now that you're announcing tonight you're putting it in the parking lot, it proved from the start it was the wrong place because you knew you had to take some trees out. You knew the state required the public hearing. I don't think you wanted people to understand who donated the trees and why they donated them 30 years ago, and I think it was important for people to hear that.
Nancy,
I think this
it is well known where the cherry trees came from, and in fact, it's often mentioned in the springtime. This select board already made many of the decisions that you're now bringing up, and so we have to move forward. So what we are doing is
Jeannie,
moving
for 2
forward,
years,
and what we are-
Jeannie,
what we
for
are
over 2
suggesting-
years, everyone was told this was going to be in the park.
No, and it is, so, Dan, yeah.
It was always going to be a portion of it in the parking lot. So it does take more of the parking lot, but the original design did include a portion of the parking lot.
You're right. Originally, you said it was going to go in a little bit of the way, but in order to do that, you probably were going to have to relocate trees, which means that, well, that's what you said.
So I'm just
Okay,
wondering,
that's
can we open this up to the public? Leslie, please.
Leslie Addison, North Bennington. It looks from one of the slides that there was a vote that was brought to the Select Board last year.
Yeah.
And we are voting members of our community to entrust the Select Board to make decisions on our behalf, which you did. Today, there's more comments that are coming up that are presenting to you for today's vote. Again, I put my trust in all members here to vote on this proposal. You are representing us as our voted representatives. So all of you may vote as you wish, with your objections or your not objections, but you are in place representing us, and I'm completely comfortable with the majority vote that you come up with, and I appreciate very much the hard work that all of you have put into this, the planning, the thought, the discussions, the meetings where public did have opportunities for input. So I just want to say thank you, and I trust your judgment as our voted representatives. Thank you.
Hi there, Jack Rossiter-Munley, Bennington, Vermont. I just wanted to say that seeing these designs, I'm very happy, because as someone who regularly attends select board meetings, they incorporate comments that I've heard at meetings about concern over the loss of green space, the potential loss of green space with the skate park being added. And I think it's really wonderful to hear that not only will the existing green space be preserved, but there will be green space added. I think anyone who spends a significant amount of time walking, biking, or skating in downtown Bennington knows that there's not a lot of green space there, and so this is really wonderful to see that. And I know that I have heard from, just in the time of this meeting, a couple people who are watching at home that they are also happy to hear that. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
I'm just a little confused. It says on the...
Please, sir.
All right, I'm sorry, Ned Perkins, Bennington, Vermont. Just on the timeline there, it says the June 26th meeting had a presentation. That presentation was by the platform group, wasn't it? Not by Gridline? And I'm just confused how we switched from the platform group to Gridline, and was that through a bidding process?
Dan, do you want to address that?
Platform Group did the very initial design, and Grindline was retained to bring it to final design and construction. They were a design-build firm.
Other questions, comments from the public? Debbie?
Debbie Matt, Bennington. A few meetings back, I can't tell you exactly how many, a gentleman spoke with a suggestion to rotate the park and put it on the other side. Was that something that wasn't viable? And if this goes through, is it going to take any of the existing green space that's there to shorten that up?
Okay, great.
So it will not take any green space. We listened to folks, and that was a main concern. There will be no green space removed. In fact, it's likely to almost double the amount of green space there. And we felt that this location made sense because it was adjacent to a green space, so it put all of the skate park infrastructure next to an existing green space. And all concerned felt that this was the best way best location for the skate park.
So it was examined and the decision was made to keep it?
Yes.
on the same end?
Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
And I also really appreciate the closing off of that entrance and the moving, because I had raised a safety issue of people coming in that way, so I think that was a really, really good idea.
Great. I think there were other hands. Sam?
Sam Rustino, Bennington, Vermont, and I know you're probably waiting for my comments or concerns. It's a real shiny penny. Expenditures. Do you realize what's coming in the next 3 years of expenditures for utilities, water, sewer, other projects that are coming down the pike? And we're going for this skate park. It's one thing of building it. It's another thing of maintaining it. What's this going to cost us? And who's the engineer when you start digging 20 feet near a Walloomsac River? Can you guarantee that that basin is not going to fill up? We don't have a real good track record in building projects. I'd like to see how much this is going to cost us when it gets built and we have problems with this, just like Willow Park with the playground.
I think, as we mentioned the last time that Sam brought this up, we're working with a very reputable firm.
Sam, please do not interrupt.
Well, I'm not convinced. This is a pretty penny.
Sam, please don't interrupt.
You can laugh all you want.
I'm not laughing. I'm asking you not to interrupt.
Our children, Sam. Okay, it's an investment.
Guys, please. Dan speaking.
So one of the main reasons working with Grindline is they've built over 250 parks. They know what they're doing. We also have a local engineering firm working with us. We have a cost estimate, a not to exceed cost estimate, so we know what it's going to cost us. And as we mentioned in the presentation, this is basically a very low maintenance facility. It's concrete. We may have to wash it down every now and then, get leaves out of the bottom of it, et cetera, but it will not be any significant burden for maintenance, which is why skate parks, one of the reasons skate parks really make a lot of sense as a municipal facility.
Dan, the River Street entrance, I looked at it last night. It isn't very wide. It's right next to the pathway, and you're across from the firehouse. Is that going to get widened? I'm worried safety with cars coming in and out, and the pathway is right next to it.
As I mentioned, we've been working with MSK engineers, and they feel that that entrance is adequate for all necessary traffic.
They said what?
That entrance, the River Street entrance, is adequate for all necessary traffic in and to and out of the parking lot.
They think it's wide enough.
Yes.
Right next to a pathway where people are going to be walking in on bikes.
Not going to second guess our engineering, Nancy. That's what they did.
Any other comments from the public? Questions? Yes. Yes, come on up. I could see your hand. I couldn't see your face.
Hi, my name's Jeff Metcalf. I am a lifelong resident of Bennington. I am also a business owner here, and I've spent my entire adult life donating my time to the local Bennington Little League. I've run it over for 20 years now. Maya football, basketball, you name it, Babe Ruth. I've run all these programs. So I spent a lot of my life giving to kids in this town, and I'm very proud of that. When I was approached about working on this, I worked for over a year on this at pro bono. I didn't charge anything for my firm's time, and because I'm proud of it. And it's something that I think that, I mean, at the end of the day, the projects that I'm working on right now in architecture, $1 million doesn't get you a house anymore. So in my mind, this is a pretty reasonable amount of money for what we're talking about. When I drive around the state and I see these skate parks, including that tiny little one in North Bennington, it's busy all winter long even. These kids are out on these parks constantly using them. I've never skated in my life. I can't stand on a skateboard. But I'll tell you, the people that I know that do it, they're passionate about it. I've known Nick for a lot of my life. That man is incredibly passionate. A lot of these people are. We could use a little bit of that in this town. So, you know, my feeling is, you know, and to be fair too, so we talked about old budgets from when I was originally involved with this thing. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to the cost of construction. There's no budget 2 years ago that's even worth talking about anymore. So, and then green space. You know, you can't have parking lot and green space something's got to give, right? So they get the green space, we take a little parking. In my mind, it's a good trade. And it's going to be a great project, and the kids are going to love it. And it's in town so that it's easy to walk to and easy to get to, and a lot of visitors are going to come see it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hi, I'm Megan Snide. I work for the Health Department here in Bennington. I am the chronic disease designee. I have a couple of statistics, and I will try to remember to cite them. This is a testimony given to the legislators of the state of Vermont, given by our health commissioner, Mark Levine. So, chronic disease is a leading driver of annual health care costs. The estimated cost of health care in Vermont for chronic disease in 2022 was $1 billion. This is calculated from the Vermont Healthcare Uniform Reporting and Evaluation Data Set maintained by the Green Mountain Care Board. And that includes claims for most, but not all Vermonters. It includes what the insurance paid, as well as the deductible, but of course we know that the insurance claims do get passed on to us. So in regard to chronic disease, I have a couple of other statistics for everyone. So 3 behaviors cause 4 diseases which create more than 50% of deaths in Vermont. The 3 behaviors are no physical activity, poor diet, and tobacco use. The 4 diseases that those 3 behaviors cause, cancer, or I should say cause and or contribute to, cancer, heart disease and stroke, type 2 diabetes, lung disease, and that those contribute to more than 50% of deaths in Vermont. Some strategies for a healthy community to reduce chronic disease and the costs associated and the burdens associated include adding health supportive language to the town plan, which I've sort of been on the outskirts of the town plan with the BCRC. I've definitely seen that's a goal of this community. Define action strategies, which includes support mixed-use development, includes no smoking ordinances in public places, create bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, maintain smoke-free parks, recreation, and open space, increase access to healthy foods, and the third would be designing complete streets and roadways, which include making sure that all of our users of the pedestrian spaces are safe. But number 4 is what's most pertinent to this evening: maintain and promote places to be active, which includes parks, recreation facilities, and open spaces. So I just like to put that before everyone's consideration that, you know, I'm not qualified to say as a state employee what we should or shouldn't be spending, but I would consider, if we're talking about differences between one place and another, 100,000 here, 200,000 there, just consider the long-lasting and large impact of a healthy space for our youth and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before Sarah makes a motion, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, Clark.
Good evening. This Mr. Metcalf, correct? Yes. Gentlemen, I would like to thank you for all you've done for this town, and I hope the rest of the town will see you as a role model and step up to the plate and join you. But again, thank you so very much for what you've done for the youth in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. It's noteworthy to know that Jeff Metcalf is a hometown hero and was celebrated a few months ago by the Riverwalk Committee. So, for his wonderful work. All right, are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I have one quick question.
Oh, okay, come on up.
Aaron Sullivan, Bennington resident.
My question is, down the road, when the cement starts to crack and the repairs need to be done, whose bill's that? Is it the taxpayers, or will there be fundraising to raise that to fix it? And the rusting on the metal?
So it would be one or the other or both, and it will be up to the select board during their budget discussions to make that determination. So we expect a lot of years of use before there's any real significant need for maintenance. I think something like this, we're probably looking at 15 to 20 years before there's a real need for maintenance, but we'll obviously keep an eye on it and make sure that we take good care of it.
Any other questions? Yeah, come on up, Chris.
I'm Chris Dayton, I'm from Pownell. I just wanted to speak to the select board to mention the aspect that's maybe not so familiar to y'all is the effort that went into the design to make sure that this isn't one of those extreme parks that only like the pros will enjoy. A lot of effort was put into the transitions, the height, and the radiuses to make sure that this park will be something that beginners and pros and like people skaters of all ages can enjoy. Because as you get older and you still want to enjoy skateboarding, kind of the effort becomes like how not to fall and get hurt. And I think that a lot of effort was went into that to address those concerns. And if you want an example of a park that's in motion that kind of hits on those same points, check out the Pownell Skate Park.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, Jeannie, if I could quickly, I was just sitting here reflecting that when I was younger, skateboarders were hooligans and were pretty much the enemy of the state in a lot of cases. And the fact that we've come to a point where we're actually working together to come up with a really, I think, marvelous plan, I think that is something that should be noted because I think we've really come a long way. And I thank you all for your work.
That's a great point. Thank you. Motion, make a motion, please.
I'm really enjoying hearing these comments tonight, but motion's on the table? No, it's not?
Yeah, so to approve the design and authorize town manager?
And authorize both at the same time, yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
One nay. Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the YMCA. It's a recreation evening. Yay. All right, we'll give a moment so those that are clearing can do so.
Nah. Are you reading about the other towns doing it? Most of the select boards are putting conditions.
Let everybody clear out.
That the
You want to wait a minute?
the rec committee, the kids have to go out and raise the rest. I'll send you the names of the towns to Bradford. Well, let's remember why people voted for pennies for parks.
Thank you.
It was going to pay for the playground. And then we had the ARPA money.
Guys, go on all the way out. We'll be able, or close those doors when you go out. Thank you. I understand the acoustics are actually getting dealt with this week.
This is a hard act to follow. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
We're getting applause. We'll get started. We'll be quick. We won't keep you guys too long. It's just a quick update from us at the Y. Oh, thanks, Sue. So I'm Taylor McGuire. I'm the branch director at the Bennington branch of the Y.
And I'm Kayla Becker. I'm the operations director for the Berkshire Family Y, but I'm based in Bennington.
There we go. Thanks, dear. So just a quick update. It was our first day of summer camp today, so we're feeling like we're at the end of a very long day, but we're happy to be here. So just some quick things that what we've been up to, I guess, since January. We have some fun partnerships that we got to explore this year with Maya Basketball. The Y was in partnership helping manage that program and will be moving forward after a successful season. Coming in 2024 is we're starting a teen drop-in center in the basement of our rec. The teens are really the only ones who want to be down there, so we're transitioning it into a teen-only space through the Vermont After School funds. We got a grant for a teen gym space, and we also got more grant money to create a lounge space where kids can come after school to do homework, hang out, and just be at the Y. In addition, we also have a very exciting partnership coming up with SVSU. For the past few years, we've been running after school and partnering with Summer Recovery. And we were just awarded with SVSU and other great partners like ACT over there with DARE, the 21st Century Grant, which means we will have funding for after school programs in our district for the next 5 years, which is super exciting. Laura Boudreau worked really hard on that, so shout out to her. In addition, we've added in a lot more adult wellness programs, social programming, a lot of group exercise classes. So just all in all, a lot of growth. All right.
The next just pictures.
Just pictures, but who doesn't love some pictures, right?
I want to highlight a couple things. I did these pictures so I get to remember why I did that. The first one up there in the corner is a potluck. This is Wendy's birthday party, right? So our instructor Wendy turned 70, and the members took it upon themselves to throw her this incredible party. They even did what was the song? 70 young. Yeah, okay, there you go. It was so great, and I wish I could do it justice, but I'm not going to. The next one is some kids at Healthy Kids Day. I just thought that was adorable. An after-school program, Healthy Kids Day again, and then I wanted to point out that we have about 45 teen and early college staff right now, which is incredible. It is not only incredible that we have so many, but also they have grown so much. Some are coming back for their 4th or 5th summer with us, which is amazing. And it was just this amazing timing that I received an email today from a member who is unfortunately moving out of Bennington, so was emailing me to let me know that the classes that she signed up for, she would no longer be able to participate in, and she knows that they have a wait list, so she wanted to make sure that we cleared them up. But I had to share this part. I started taking classes over a year ago and have totally loved them. Tracy is amazing. I feel the workout she instructs in, floor exercises and advanced strength and balance, but she also makes me laugh, which is another form of well-being. She is nothing but amazing. And the participants in the class are great as well. Some are in here. Hi, everybody. It was a wonderful experience that I love telling all of my non-Bennington friends about. And Wendy putting together the coffee hour, what a great idea. It brings people together in such a good way. I totally hate to be leaving just because of the Y experience. And it just felt like really great timing. I had to share that. So generally, people have a lot of questions about specific things, so we didn't want to present too much. We just wanted to put it out there and see if there's anything you wanted an update on.
Great. I'll open it up to the board. Any questions that you have? I'm wondering how many kids are you projecting for camp this summer?
So with the recovery program, we contract with 250 slots with the school district, so they can send up to that many to us for recovery. Us ourselves have about 100 to 120 per week private pay.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. Okay.
Yes, Jean. Oh, sorry. No.
Okay. I just want to make sure, when you say recovery...
Yeah, so summer recovery is the kids who are doing extended year services kind of keep going to school in the morning to incentivize going to school in the morning. If they come, they get to spend the afternoon at camp having fun. So going to school means they earn summer camp.
Okay, it would be like what we would think of as summer school.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Way more fun.
And
Way more fun. Yeah.
I don't know how you could possibly do any more, but I'm wondering what ideas you have percolating in your brains for the future.
Right now, we are really excited about some more teen things happening. We always have had a school age and like pre-K kind of group that we've always been able to reach, but that's an easy age group to reach. Families are trying to find things for them to do. They're really engaged. Teens, especially middle school, it's really hard to reach that age group and get them connected to community. So we're excited about this project. What was exciting about the Vermont After School grant money is it was voted on by the teens to pick the teen gym. It had no adult influence on what we did. We had 425 middle and high schoolers vote on that. So.
Wow. Great.
Tom, did you have something? Or you were letting me know about Jean? Okay. Can you talk about your 50-plus, your classes, your adult classes?
Yes, so we have a wide range. We have aquatics classes, so we have 4 of those in the pool right now. We also have a wide range at the sports center. We have silver sneakers, which is like a combination of cardio and weights. We have strength and balance, floor work, yoga classes, both on the ground and in chairs. Active walk is a huge draw. It's in the basketball gym, so it's more than just walking. It's super fun. Music's playing. You're doing exercises, working on balance and cardio, and just honestly having a great time. The social impact is what's been really important for a lot of our participants. We are continuing to add more. We have instructors wanting to get certified in other things because we've had such great turnout in classes. Like Kayla mentioned, all of our group exercise classes are filling. Most of our 50-plus kind of groupings are all waitlisted. So we are working on trying to make that more accessible to folks by adding more, but it is a good problem to have when you have so many people wanting to partake that you have a wait list. So,
how many classes do you have?
18, I think. Yeah, 18. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could learn to skateboard at the skate park.
Sounds good. We'll get Tracy or Wendy on it. Wendy did have a knee replacement, so she's feeling great. We'll get her out there.
That's great. Any other questions from the board?
North Adams, the Berkshire Y is doing no programming for the public, and they don't have a building other than school programs?
So the Northern Berkshire branch, we're not inside of the same building. It is owned by the city of North Adams. We're no longer in a lease agreement with them. We are programming for the city through after school and summer camp, and there was a branch director hired to start expanding programming in North Adams.
And where will they do the programs without a building?
They have great roots with a lot of the community partners there, so they'll be doing it in different buildings and in the parks and working with different town coalitions.
Is North Adams, the city, going to let you use their buildings?
I can speak to that
there you go.
a little bit better. All right. The fun I get to do is that, honestly, the model with Bennington and the Y was so incredible that, we're trying to pick up little pieces of that and moving forward with the city of North Adams. There's nothing set in stone yet, but like Windsor Lake is a city property. The camp kids will be going there. Nothing is shut off. Nothing's off the table right now.
And are you finding people from North Adams, Williamstown, Stanford, are they coming to Bennington now that the Y is not really in North Adams anymore?
Yes, they've been coming for a while because the pool in North Adams has been closed for over a year. So that's a full Y membership. Of course, they don't get the resident rate, so they're paying the full Y rate. And we actually can track where people are coming from, and I'm happy to get more information in detail if you want that at some time.
I hope people who live in Bennington aren't being put on wait lists, because we own and pay for the rec center and the pool. It's for the people of Bennington. We've always invited our neighbors to come too, but I hope that people in Bennington, whether it's at the rec center or someplace else, they have to wait because people from the Berkshires are coming up.
I can't tell you that off the top of my head, but all members are Y members, and it's not like one group gets a priority over anyone else at this time.
Well, but I think it's different because in Bennington, the rec center isn't a Y facility.
Right.
It's our town recreation center.
Right, just the operations are the YMCA.
I'm sorry?
The operations of the building are the Y.
And what about seniors? Do you have seniors coming up from the Berkshires?
Yes.
Okay. And are they able to participate in free programs?
What do you mean free? With their membership, all of the programs we offer are free with your membership. So they're included in a membership.
So they're going to Catamount, they're not going to the senior building?
I don't do anything with the senior building at this time. So they're going to Catamount, which is the sports center, and the rec.
And does the Y have a new CEO, the Berkshire Y?
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of transition in the last couple months.
Was it the man who was doing it in the wintertime, Christmas time? Did they hire him on?
They did. The interim CEO did become permanent.
Okay. And not for tonight, but in one of the next 2 meetings, we need to have a public discussion about the contract that the town is going to need to enter into the Y for the Ben High. There's several contracts for the gym and the addition we need to talk publicly about because it will be impacting the town budget.
Ben High is on the next agenda.
I'm sorry?
Ben High is on the next agenda.
Okay, but I'm talking specifically on contracts. Would you be willing to come sometime to talk about what you'd like to do, what you'd like to do if the Ben High project gets done?
Yeah, with a bit more direction and clarity on what you're looking for, I'm always happy.
And are you hoping to do after-school programs there?
So there's a discussion about licensed childcare and licensed school age at Ben High, but nothing is set. Our arrangement with the school will maintain the same, which is basically in the schools in one central location for the Bennington schools.
But are you doing after-school programs at Catamount rather than the schools?
So the Bennington schools, Monument, Molly, Bennell, and Woodford all come to the sports center, Old Catamount. Pownell and Shaftesbury are both based in the school. And then Village School is a separate arrangement, but we are also in the Village School of North Bennington.
Okay.
All your questions?
Well, contracts, but...
Okay, yeah, okay. Any other questions from select board members? No?
The baby's good, 13 months, so.
Yes, all right. Any questions or comments from public? No?
There you go. Well, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. All right, beautiful.
All right, our second and final public hearing on the amendment to the Bennington Town Plan and Bennington Land Use and Development Regulations.
Yes, hi. I'm back for a second time to discuss the proposed amendment to the town plan and our land use and development regulations. The request, as recommended by the Planning Commission, is to rezone 7 acres of land off of North Branch Street from industrial to village residential. This is land owned by Mr. Tony Bolio. He had made that request so that the property could be redeveloped with housing, which we all know we desperately need. So just to recap, the area in, I can use my pointer, the area in yellow is the property to be proposed to be rezoned. This is North Branch Street. This is Bowen Road. Vermont Container is here. This is Mountain View Mobile Home Park, I believe that's the name of it, yes. So you can get an idea of the parcel. It's fairly long and narrow, 7 acres. Last time Mr. Bolio talked about some of his plans for developing housing there. So Jonah, just maybe the next.
Dan, you're going to need to speak up.
Okay, maybe the next slide, please. So this highlighted section right here represents that same parcel. Oops. You can see that we're proposing to change that. The Planning Commission has recommended to change this area right here from industrial to village residential to allow for housing development. So that's the zoning map that would be amended. So very, very straightforward amendment. It's basically changing a map in the town plan and changing a map in the land use and development regulations And those, if you folks vote to approve that change, it would become effective within 21 days after today's meeting. I think we answered several questions at the last meeting. Happy to answer any additional questions, but this one's pretty straightforward. So hopefully you folks feel comfortable approving it after the hearing is closed this evening, and we can hopefully move towards getting some more housing in that vicinity and that parcel.
Great. Any questions from the select board?
Yeah, Dan, over in this section of town, are there any parking requirements left for housing in our zoning bylaws?
Yes. So actually, our zoning parking requirements mimic the current state requirements. The state requirements have been loosened significantly, and it's one space for every, at least one space for every dwelling unit. Now, Mr. Bolio may choose to have more than that because that may be what the market requires, but the state law limits us from requiring anything more than one, and that's for anything that has municipal water and sewer available. That's state law, not just our regulations.
If you have a unit with 2 or 3 bedrooms, are you going to consider maybe an extra parking space?
Is that a question for Mr. Bolio?
Well, I mean,
who are you asking?
So Nancy, even if the town wanted to, they could not require additional parking spaces under state law.
No, I realize
Right.
that.
Yes, but we would expect the developers, knowing their business better than we do, to provide the parking that they need in order to market their units.
And there's no public sidewalk over on this section of North Branch Street?
That's correct, and I have spoken to Mr. Bolio about how we might get pedestrian access from that facility over, especially to the Park Street area, and there's at least 2 or 3 possibilities, and so we have talked about that. But again, that's going to be a detail that's worked out when the project comes before the Development Review Board.
Okay. And I didn't know, I was interested to know if he's going to be able to get some of the type of grants and tax credits that Shires and Hale Resources gets for your project?
Not at that point. I'm just trying to get.
Well, no, I'm just hoping that you would...
So to have a conversation, Mr. Bolio, I would ask you to come up. So,
And I can certainly preface that by saying that those sorts of grants do require typically that the units be deemed affordable and that they either remain permanently affordable or affordable for a compliance period. So it's really up to Mr. Bolio whether he fits with his business plan.
You can introduce one
Tony
or both
Bolio.
of you.
I'm Cecilia Bolio.
Future executive. What was the question?
No, I was just hoping that you would be able to compete, get some of the types of funding that Shires and Hale Resources will for your project. I'm not really sure what type of housing, the breakdown, what your units will be.
Well, I guess I'm not really going to say because I'm not really sure where all the funding is going to come from. You know, my funding, I've talked to some private equity funding, I've talked to, commercial lenders. So I'm not really sure yet. Right now, the plan is to get the zoning changed, get the property engineered, get it designed, and we'll go from there.
And last question, I'm not sure what you have on the boundaries of your property. Are you going to be considering any type of screening, fences, trees or shrubs to reduce the light and the noise between the 3 properties?
The property is already surrounded by natural trees and fences all the way around.
Okay.
So a lot of that will probably stay.
Great.
Good, thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the select board?
Yeah, right there.
Yes, Clark.
So, again, sir, thank you for what you're doing for our town. More for Dan, in light of our recently amended Act 250, is that going to ease our ability to help this gentleman help our town, or is there something else we need to do to make sure things happen faster and less officiously?
So that incredibly imperfect legislation that was just passed. So there's a lot of exemptions for housing that are for the next 2 or 3 years while the state gets up to speed doing their mapping, et cetera, so that we can, as a town, take advantage of those exemptions permanently. So the answer is yes in the short term, and if we do the work, which I fully expect we will, yes in the long term, we will definitely be able to facilitate housing on any area that has existing municipal water and sewer access, which this property does. So that, I would say, the Act 250 legislation that did pass will be helpful because of the exemptions that exist and have been extended, as well as the possibility of permanent exemptions if we qualify, and I expect that we will, given our infrastructure and our planning in place.
Super. Thank you. Any questions from the public? Yes, Maria, can you please go to... Good heavens. All right, folks, Mr. Bolio, if you guys can move over to this here so you can respond.
Control of this. Can you move it back to the other on this slide? So I went to the lister's office, and I went from his map. And he told me, when I asked him the questions about the EPA sites, there were different ones, and how in the reports talk about streams running through the property, he pointed out, this was the property that's being considered.
Josh, can you hear her?
1, 2, 3. In addition to that, and this map it doesn't show, but there's water here. It's like a wetland type of thing. But if you look on the other map, if you bring it back, it shows on the other one, 2 places. The difference is in the lister's office, it actually crosses over onto his property, onto his property.
You want me to do it right here?
Yeah. No, the one with the little... I don't know what that is.
This is the other side.
No, there's another one.
Those are the only two maps.
Okay, where's his property now?
The one that's outlined in green.
Okay. So in the lister here in town, that little water crosses over this property. And their maps are really big in the lister's office. This water line crosses over from that line. And when I asked him specific questions regarding this EPA report, if I could show it to you, where it says it hasn't been satisfied, I can give you each one. 1, 2. And then the second question was, there's been a lot of talk about the river being there. We have problems on Northside Drive, remember? Remember there was that flooding? So everyone's concerned about Irene causing massive floods. So what do we do if that floods that zone of homes?
Dan.
I mean, it's a really big thing, the flooding. You end up carrying that EPA poison down the water.
Thank you. So you haven't got it.
EPA report where it says, Newlands, the second one, say that no, inhabitants, no, here, not completed, no.
I'll see that.
What are we looking at? You might want to speak into the microphone.
So, I mean, I can address, I think, the questions. I'm not clear on the full extent of them.
One is lister's map is the name.
So, as far as the wetlands are concerned, Mr. Bolio has already had those mapped, and he knows where they are, and he knows how to avoid them. Correct, Tony?
Correct.
Okay, so the wetlands are not an issue. As far as the floodplain is concerned, this is, if you look at the map, it's quite a distance from the river, and there's really no significant risk of flooding this far away from the river. I don't believe any portion of it's even in the floodplain. Yeah.
I'm not in the floodplain.
Yeah, so he's not even in the floodplain, so it's not even considered a risk by the state or the feds flooding on this property.
Contamination hasn't been satisfied.
The contamination is on this property, and the river flows this way, so there's really no issue of contamination on that property.
All right.
Where's the road first?
Maria, if you have another question, please go to the microphone.
Okay. I had all the reports when I went to the listener's office and I asked him.
Maria, we can't hear you.
I asked him, where is this one located? He pointed to there. Where is this one located? He pointed to there. And where's the third one located? He pointed to there.
So it sounds to me...
So what I'm saying is, unless it's above that land, I'm assuming that it's below it.
So it sounds to me like...
And that's
you
why the
probably
report
should talk
said the
with-
streams are running east to west.
Okay, I think we have, so there's clearly, Dan has very different information from you, so I think this is probably something that should be taken up outside
And it's
of here.
and as far as details of the development, that's all going to be dealt with by the DRB. So
Yeah.
these particular issues would affect it whether it was industrial or village residential. So it's really not a relevant concern unless and until the DRB is reviewing it for development.
So our task is to look at whether we zone the 7 acres from industrial to village residential.
That's correct. The
right?
details of the development will be reviewed by the DRB when and if it comes
Okay.
before them.
Any other questions that relate to this? Yes, please, Deb.
Debbie Matt, Bennington. Has this land recently been tested for PFOAs?
PFOA?
So I don't know the answer to that, but this will be served by municipal water and sewer, so it's not an issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I ask for a motion?
Yeah, Dan, can you just, the land to the right of it, that is housing, right? That's a park?
So this whole area here is a mobile home park.
Okay, and to the left of it?
This is Vermont Container. It's
Okay.
part of the industrial park, and this is the V-Trans facility.
Okay, and underneath it is currently?
This is currently vacant. This is where the National Guard, if you remember, they were fully permitted for a National Guard facility here, and they decided that it didn't make sense for them to invest that amount of money for a facility that they didn't think would be fully utilized.
And to the top?
That's housing up here. Is that where you're looking?
That's what road again?
It's North Branch Street. Yeah.
So the whole top and a little bit to...
This is Bowen Road here, the intersection of Bowen Road and North Branch Street.
Top and a little bit to the right, kind of top as well? That's
This is all housing, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Greenwood?
Developed housing?
This is all these lots here, housing.
Okay, thank you.
Could I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the change in zoning to residential.
Village residential, yes.
And I'll second that motion to go with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
To do what?
Go with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Oh, okay. Any more discussion from the board? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolio.
Thank you, Mr. Bolio.
You all.
All right, next, that brings us to finalizing the Charter Committee charge. So we have, I'm going to say for the sake, I'm going to recommend this and we can decide what we want to do with it. But for the sake of getting the committee going, I would say that we look at the charge as it is, which are the things we all agreed on at the last meeting, and that everything that has come in since then on the website, which is now where we're taking comment, will be referred on to the committee once the committee's established, because so that's my recommendation, because otherwise I think we end up, we gained a month on the timeline, and I'd like to keep that fourth month for the Charter Committee if we can, so that their work is not rushed, because we were certainly concerned about this. So just to get the ball rolling, I'm thinking, Ed, if you would read the charge, that would be helpful. That'd be great.
Sure. So the charge as recommended, the Select Board will appoint a 7-member Charter Review Committee to review the Town of Bennington Charter and to make recommendations as it finds necessary or advisable for the purpose of improving the operation of town government. The final report containing these recommendations will be submitted to the Bennington Select Board no later than November 29th, 2024. Areas for review will include the following. First one, allowing non-citizen taxpayers and Bennington residents aged 16 and older to vote in municipal elections. 2, municipal authority to reduce the number of long-term vacant properties. 3, duties, responsibilities, and terms for Select Board and Town Manager. 4, charter changes to increase the autonomy of the Community Policing Advisory Review Board. And 5, any areas for review as deemed appropriate by the Charter Review Committee.
Thank you. Okay. So we can go through the timeline now, or we can talk about whether the charter itself. What's the board's pleasure?
I'd like to add one charge.
I'm sorry, please. What's the board's pleasure? To talk just about the charge right now?
I'd like to agree on the charge and then move on to the timeline because they're separate items.
Great. Okay. Me too. All right. So, Select Board, any changes we want to make to the charge?
Let me just remind the board, if I could, Jeannie, that the recommendation is this charge, which is a culmination of what's been discussed and agreed upon so far, and that the committee will then take on any new and pertinent and relevant recommendations that may be coming in from the public.
I think that, I'm hoping that's what we can do so we can get this moving. Yep.
Excuse me. I have a question. Sure. I was led to believe that, I think maybe 2 meetings ago, there was a discussion of the public input that was going to be put in on our website would be consolidated, and those suggestions were going to be put in a public format, but also provided to the Select Board. At what point is that going to happen?
So that happened at the last meeting. We had 3 comments, and they were included in our packet. So since then, I believe there have been a couple more, and the plan, according to Jonah, and I think it makes sense, is to keep that website open, or that site open, so that as the committee does their work, anyone that has a suggestion of something that should be discussed can put it there. It's also possible, because the Charter Review Committee will be a public body. Their meetings are public. The public will be allowed to come and speak at their meeting as required under open meeting law. So there would be 2 mechanisms. Either, some people, please, Maria, please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. So that there would be 2 mechanisms for individuals. They could either come to the Charter Review Committee and give their feedback directly there, or they can write it out and submit it, and it will look just like it did at our last meeting, which is that it had the person's name, their email and address or phone number was marked out, and then it had their comment. So we had 3 comments that came in off the last, and one did, in finalizing this charge, Ed and I talked about, there was also a recommendation to look at option tax, but option tax is already in the charter, so it didn't really make sense to add that again, because if they want to do something else with the option tax, it's covered under number 5, which is any other areas for review as deemed appropriate by the Charter Review Committee. So there will be ongoing mechanisms. The charter, the report is due November 29th, gets us enough time to have 2 hearings and warn them and all of that. So this actually adds a month to the committee's ability to think through what they're doing, and I think it addresses some of our concern last time about whether they really could do everything in 3 months. Now they have 4.
You're telling me you only had 3?
Yep.
That's correct.
From the entire
Yeah,
community?
we discussed them at the...
Three before the last meeting.
Before the last meeting.
Jonah is collecting and collating additional comments, and they will all be forwarded, once the committee is formed, that will all be forwarded to the committee and to the select board if they so wish to see them ahead of time.
That was my question. When were these suggestions going to be put in a format available to both the select board and the public
Clark,
to
they were
review?
in our packet last meeting.
So the last ones were,
Just
the
those 3.
initial
I mean,
ones were.
Yeah, that's all there were.
Period? There's no other?
At that time, there were only that many. Some more have come in, and I only know this because I happen to be talking to Jonah about it. He intends to put them all together and give them to the committee when they're formed.
Yeah.
We don't have a committee to give them to yet. So that will all be done at that time.
Yeah, so that is so we have now, I think, had 3 meetings where we've discussed what we might want in that charge, how we might want the committee to be set up. So the hope is that tonight, we can finalize the charge, finalize the timeline, and then we can officially open. I know we've already gotten we've already gotten some applications, but we can officially open the application process and get this ball rolling. Because if we don't get it rolling really soon, we're not going to make the March 4th deadline for a vote. So I'm trying.
We are not going to make the March deadline?
If we don't keep moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, I think we've got 4 months for the charter committee
I have
to
a
do
question on the charge.
Okay.
I think anything that someone may suggest, I think it should all come to the select board before it goes right to the committee.
No, it won't. That's the whole point of setting up a committee. The committee will review, and then what they will do is actually put together a report, and it comes to us, and then we can do anything we want with it, which is the good and the bad part. But the committee itself is semi-autonomous in terms of they use the open meeting process. Their meetings will be probably televised, probably not live, but televised. Their meetings, there will be a minute taker, and the meetings will be open for anyone to come and observe or comment. But the committee will do its own work. We don't mess with that part. What we get to muck around in is once they make their report, then we do what we want with it. And then it goes on to the voters.
I think what we have to be conscious of, if the committee or several people may come up with other things they want them to look at, if they're going to end up with 8, 10, 12 things, they're not going to have the time. When it comes back to us, we need to be thinking about how this is going to be presented to the voters. If you didn't see what the voters had to look at last time, you should. I just read it and didn't realize it. When you look at a charter change, you're supposed to see what it says not currently, what the change is that proposed. And what I looked at from 7 years ago, the voters weren't shown that, so.
They were actually, it actually was in the voting booths. It was in every single voting booth.
I have a copy of that. What I'm saying is when a citizen read, for example.
But Nancy, let's move forward. So what we're doing right now is looking at the
I want to make sure it's done properly when people vote, not like last time.
Yeah.
Because it was a hot mess.
Yeah, but that's not the charge. The charge is to the review committee, and this is what we are charging them to do.
Our goal here tonight is to get a review committee started.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so any concerns about the charge as it reads? Excuse me, from the board?
Yeah.
I'm still concerned about we won't be privy or aware of what documents are going to this committee.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's an open group. So this is where we need to trust. I mean, we are trusting, Select Board is going to appoint 7 members to sit down and spend the next 4 months of their life reviewing our charter using this charter charge as their basis. So we have 4 things listed that we specifically want them to look at, and then a 5th thing, which is anything else you think is appropriate, you deem appropriate. And then once they do their deliberation, and we're going to trust them to do that. They're going to bring it back to us, and we say, we like this part, we don't like this part, we're wondering why you did this way, whatever we're going to say, and then we make a decision, and then there are 2 more hearings for the public to understand what is on the Warren ballot that they're going to vote on March 4th. So that is the process. That's how a charter change process works. So can we move forward with the charge?
I'm not comfortable with number 5.
Number 5, any other, you want them not to be able to, what if they have a-
Depending on who's on the board, going through, well, we'd like to add this, we'd
Okay.
like to change this.
All right, so
what-
that's your opinion. All right. So I think I've never seen a charge that doesn't say, and whatever else you deem
Can I
appropriate.
just remind the board that all suggested revisions will come back to this body?
Yeah.
So Nancy, you'll have the opportunity to weigh in at that point. I am of very strong belief that we need to leave the door open for this charter review committee to review things that come in from public comment at their review meetings and get considered, and we can't possibly know what they are because the public has not participated yet.
Well, I mean, they've participated for 3 meetings, but yeah.
But
It's an ongoing process. So we want, I mean, this is where, I mean, you know, the public trusts us to do the work of the town, and we trust the public to be on 16, now 17 boards and commissions in this community and to serve this community well. It's, you know, it's how trust works. So Clark, what is is there something that's bothering you about the charge?
Sure. I was under the distinct impression that there was going to be a consolidated presentation of these recommendations that were going to be forwarded to this committee as part of the process. From my interpretation, what you're saying now is the information goes to the committee and then it will be coming back to us.
Exactly.
And that wasn't my understanding. A couple weeks ago, I spoke to Jonah when he was saying how they're going to be pulling information off of the website. I get the distinct impression that information is going to be consolidated, made available not only to the public but to us, and then forwarded over to the charter review committee.
I think there is absolutely, Jonah's here, but I think there's absolutely no difficulty at all for us to get a copy of any of the comments that are also going to the charge review.
If I could just weigh in for 1 second, please, Jonah. Clark is not wrong in that the information was gathered and consolidated for the last board meeting that we had, and it helped us to write this charge.
Yeah.
That was the value and the importance of those initial public comments that Jonah provided to us at the last select board meeting. So Clark, you're not wrong.
That's correct, and those comments prior to the last meeting were all put on the town website on the charter review page. And my understanding, but this is ultimately the will of the select board, was that periodically I would compile, the next logical point for me was I would compile any subsequent comments, and I think we've had about 5 since that initial batch would go to the charter committee, but available to everyone on the website. And then periodically, really at the choice of this board, I'd be happy to, again, compile and place on the website new batches as they come available.
Jonah, if you're making it public on the website, we can just go to the website
Exactly.
and see it. I do think it's important to give it specifically to the review committee in case they don't look at that page. But for the rest of us, if we're curious about what comments have come in, we can go.
That is correct, and that's how I interpreted Clark's question last time, was that we would be periodically putting it all on the website for everyone to view. But if there's a different preference, you know, I'm open to that. Just let me know.
I think it's important that it go to the committee because those things are going to drive their work.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, so.
Jeannie?
Any other questions? Yeah, Jeannie.
2 things. Can you give us a sense of what, during this whole process, which is months long, and there are many steps to the process, and it's really important that everyone understand those steps, but it's also very important for us to remember we will vote on things and take care of business step by step by step. So we're not voting tonight on anything except this, what's in front of us right now. And can you give us guidance on what we should and should not do as select board members during this process? I know we're allowed to attend meetings because they're public, but I'm getting the feeling that it's kind of like hands-off at this point and let them do their work.
Well, I mean, we're also members of the public. So I do think, we see ourselves as just regular people, but I do know that sometimes, being on a select board, people think you have more power than you do. I think we should be careful. I mean, if there's a particular charge that there's a particular idea that I really care a lot about, I think certainly if I had information, I might want to share it, but I certainly wouldn't want to be like a bully and say, I think this one's really important, so make sure you include that.
And you'd be speaking as a member of the public, not a member of this body.
Right.
Yeah. So other than that, I think we all have a right to share our thoughts as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can go and attend and listen.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But as far as, I don't know about putting our opinions in.
Well, I think we want to be careful how we do it, and I think that's the case on we can go to any board now, and many of us do, and when we share thoughts, I mean, you do have to consider that the thoughts you share are perceived as coming from a select board member, even though you're really only giving them as a member of the public. But because that information comes back to us, and we make a final decision on it, I think you're right, Nancy. I mean, we do have to be really careful about how we do that, because we are the final say on this.
Mm-hmm. Were people from the select board going to the meetings last time, Stu?
I believe that from time to time, board members did attend those meetings. We met weekly, so seemed like a lot of them.
All right, anything else from the select board on the charge? All right. Public, any comments from the public on the charge? Yes, Maria, please.
Am I correct?
You'd need to speak to a mic.
Pick a microphone.
Am I correct with my understanding that the final charge is to open the door, but people will be able to make comments?
Maria,
suggestions.
Please state your name.
Maria Corrales.
Thank you.
Resident of Bennington, Vermont, and we're reviewing item number 8, the final charge. Charter charge.
Yes, we are on
the final charter charge. It means now it's going to open the doors to create the committee, but people can still make their suggestions.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So when I hear final charge, it's like this list and nothing else.
No, so the final charge includes number 5, which is any other areas of review as deemed appropriate by the Charter Review Committee.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes. We are not trying to close the door. We're just trying to be clear that it's not like the last Charter Review, which was the whole basket. Yes, Debbie. This is hopefully a little more contained because we've only got 4 months to work with.
Debbie, I admit I'm ignorant of the process, and what I think I understand is that when you come to a final decision, that it goes upstate for approval?
It gets voted on first.
It gets voted on first, and then it goes up. So what is the ratio in the past of them?
I think it was 10%, or was it 5% we got? Very little, but we also had a...
No, we actually did better than that.
Okay.
The legislature has the authority to reject suggestions that have been approved by local voters, depending on whether they think it flies in the face of Vermont law or other things that they may have concerns about. So, in general, charter changes are approved by the legislature as voted, but not all the time.
So they don't disapprove of the whole charter. They may just disapprove of a piece of the charter and make us remove it.
And the federal constitution has supremacy?
Debbie, I think Debbie was still speaking.
I would say.
There is no appeal. Once the legislature has acted, and the governor has signed it, the portions that have been approved by the legislature and the voters become law. If we're dissatisfied with that, we could always hold another charter review, another vote, and see if they would change their minds.
The good thing, though, was that they gave very clear reasons for why they rejected something. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a silly thing to put in, but at the time of the last charter review, there was a select board member who was not seeking re-election and stopped coming to select board meetings for a very, very long time. And so one of the things that got put in to the charter, to the recommendations was if a person missed 4 consecutive meetings, the select board could take action, and that was rejected because the legislature, and I guess I probably agree with them, said that the voters vote you in, the voters vote you out, and the select board does not have that power. And so, I mean, it was a very reasonable response, and so we went, okay, can't do that. So, they do give reasons, so it's not just sort of like we struck these things and who knows why. Yeah. All right, charge. Anything else on charge? All right, are we ready to vote on the charge? Clark? Okay. All those in favor of the charge as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, great. Thank you. All right. Now, for what I hope is the easier part is the timeline. And we did make a couple small tweaks, and so I'll indicate those. But the timeline, hopefully tonight to adopt the charter charge and to open the application period for the review committee formally. July 10th, close the application period for the review committee. That is slightly sooner than we had talked about at first, and the reason for that is so that we can do interviews on July 18 and into the 19th if we need to, so that there's time to set it up. And then July 22nd, which is that following Monday, we would vote on the slate of review committee members, and their work would get underway the week of August 5th. So there would be organization of the committee and beginning training for the committee on open meeting law, how charters work, and how their work is going to work. So some of that they will have to figure out themselves. November 29th is the final recommendation submitted to the select board, and that's a Friday. And then December 9th, which is our regular meeting, we would discuss the recommendations. In talking, we thought rather than having December 23rd, which right now is our next regular warned meeting, that we would hold the meeting on December 16th, and if that's okay with all of us, have our second meeting that month on the 16th, because the 23rd is probably not going to be well attended, so let's just make it the 16th.
We might have suggested that for our regular meeting anyway.
Yeah, we might have. So the select board, that would be the first warned, that's when we would warn the first public hearing, would be on December 16th. And that would give us 2 meetings to talk about the recommendations from the committee. Then the first public hearing would be January 27th, 2025. And the second hearing, we moved it to February 10th, 2025. Okay? And that was this tricky thing of we could decide to make changes based on comments, but if we did, we could not vote on March 4th because the ballots would already be set. So we just moved it to February 10th, so we have a little more time. And then March 4th would be the vote, and of course March 3rd would be the floor vote, but we would not it could certainly be a topic on that date, but that wouldn't be the second hearing. So a little bit of change on the dates, but not much. How does that look to people? That gives us 4 months for the committee to do their work, and then 2 public hearings. 2 meetings for us to talk about it, and then 2 public hearings to make sure that everybody is very clear what all the recommendations that will be on the ballot mean. Jean,
I just want to raise a concern with July 18th, that there's a conflict with, the CPARB is meeting that night, July 18th. So
Okay.
whoever.
What time do they meet?
The liaison ends up being.
What time do they meet?
I don't know.
6.
6 o'clock.
We could, I believe that's a night that all of us are available, both of the 18th and 19th. So we could do 4 to 6 that night and then do the other.
Yeah,
or
just.
3 to 6. I mean, it depends on the availability.
Yeah, just keep
Okay.
that in mind.
So 3 p.m., 6 p.m. CPARB. Okay, we don't want to interrupt that. At least we'd be in the same building. Okay.
That's true, not a long meeting.
Okay. Anything else that we should be paying? Are you okay with moving to December 16th for the second meeting? Does that work?
What did you say?
Are you okay with moving to December 16th from December 23rd?
Oh, yeah.
That would be the regular meeting. Yeah, it would be the regular meeting as well, yeah. Okay. Any other questions from Select Board? Any questions from the community? All right, we ready to vote on the timeline then?
I'll make a motion that we accept the timeline as presented by the chair.
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, good, all right.
Excuse me, Jean.
Yes.
Was there a motion for the charge?
Yes, yes, there was. Who made the motion? We voted on it.
I heard it.
Sarah?
I know you voted, but I had to,
I think Tom made the motion. Do you think you made the motion for the charge?
Quite possibly. We may want to repeat that.
Who seconded it? Sarah?
I didn't hear a motion, period, all that you voted, and that was it.
Well, why don't we re-vote, just in case?
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion now.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the charge, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you.
Nancy, thank you.
It's like, who knows? Okay, so super. All right, so now the ball is rolling, and we will take applications through July 10th. All right, and I know several people have already applied, and that's super, so they will be included in the grouping.
And how does one apply?
Thank you. You can apply by sending a letter to the town of Bennington, care of Town Manager Stu Hurd, or you can send it to his email, which is
shurd@benningtonvt.org.
And Hurd is H-U-R-D.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Or you can stop in and hand deliver it as well. Okay. All right, so next up, so we had a conversation about setting up listening sessions that would be outside of regular select board meetings for the purpose of bringing in folks that might not come to this kind of setting or can't come on Monday nights. And Stu, you were going to do some background work for us to see when we might be available, and you were going to look at either four months in a row or every other month for 4 sessions, right?
That's true. And I haven't done much work on that, I can tell you. But I will...
Stuart?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do have other things to do, and I'm also trying to get some time off before the year
All
end.
right, well, it was on the agenda.
Gotcha.
So that will be on the agenda for next month then? All right. Yeah, we're going to table it now. Yes, let's table it. And we'll put it on for next meeting's agenda. Okay. All right, set water and sewer rates.
Thank you.
For FYI or for FY
Yeah,
25?
I thought that was pretty cute.
Just saw that.
You know, we use that term a lot, FYI. Yes, water and sewer rates are proposed this year based on the budget that were approved by the board. These are the rates that were actually proposed at the same time. They have not changed. It is a total increase of 3.9% for water and sewer customers. The water rate would increase 3.7% to and I better put my glasses on because that's in purple, 160.51. That's the flat rate from 154.78. On sewer, the flat rate would increase from 151.86 to 158.09. On the metered rates, the cost per gallon would rise from $5.74 per 1,000 gallons, to $5.95, with a $96.48 meter surcharge. And the surcharge is a base rate that all metered customers pay to pay for the entire system. So it's not just use, but they have a responsibility for the whole system for fire protection as well as water delivery. On the sewer side, that rate would rise from $5.25 per 1,000 gallons to $5.49, which is a 4.1% increase. The meter surcharge would rise, again, 4.1% from $94.37 to $98.24. Those rates will generate sufficient dollars to fund both the water and sewer budgets that have been approved, and I'm looking for a motion to approve those rates as proposed.
Someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Someone like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Just so that people know, this means your water and sewer bill next year is going to go up a total of, I believe, about $47.
For the whole year.
Yeah, right, for the whole year. All right, so if we vote on it. So now, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
All right.
I wasn't there.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let's see, what do we have next? Boards and commissions. All right, so we have a slate of boards and commissions for 2024, 2025. And it reads as follows. Development Review Board, Kat Briers and George Schmidt. For listers, Carol Holm and Peter Green with one open position. Historic Preservation Commission, Robert Taggart and Michael McDonough with 2 open positions. Regional Commission, Dan Monks. Community Policing Advisory Review Board, Jeff Vickers and Eric Scott Frost. Bennington Housing Authority, Sandy Bissett. Energy Committee, Bill Christian, Bill Karras, and Aaron Sullivan. And I know we have Aaron with us tonight. It was very nice to have a new member here. For the Select Board liaison positions, which, just to be clear, are positions that we take on boards that either that have a lot of interaction with the town or who receive significant funding from the town. These are positions that are for the purpose of increasing the flow of information between the Select Board and specific organizations. Unless otherwise indicated, these positions are non-voting positions. Select Board members may not serve as a liaison to an organization where they or a member of their family serve on the board or hold a paid position, or that they would have potential financial gain or any other conflicts of interest. An organization can ask for a liaison to be removed for inappropriate behavior while serving in that capacity. And so annually, these liaison positions are voted on the slate along with boards and commissions. So, are we ready? If someone would like to make a motion to accept the slate for this year?
So move.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion before we vote?
Quickly, what you just read as far as liaison, I didn't see that in my packet, I skipped it. Is that an actual policy?
No, but we will take it up next week, next meeting, and when we do procedures. It is what we've acted on, but we're going to codify it. Okay. Yes.
So I have a question on, this is the reappointments of folks who were listed on our...
Yes, these are all the people being appointed to the boards right now. Not everybody that's on the board, just the reappointments.
I would just like to thank folks who have been reappointed, that's all.
So
Say that again.
I would like to have actually had a chance to interview or speak with folks who are up for reappointment. I realize that we in fact spoke with a slate of people for appointment, but reappointment.
Yeah. And it is something that we have wrestled with over the years. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 individuals. So, generally what we can certainly do that, and that is the board's decision. So next year, could decide to interview every single person that's up for reappointment. I think we generally haven't done that because if they're serving on the committee, the committees are all open because of open meeting law. So at any one time, if you are interested in how particular board members behave on a committee or contribute to a committee, they're open meetings so you can see them. And that if someone is willing to serve, unless there's a reason for them not to serve, if they want to serve, then, that's a benefit to the town. So, but certainly there have, I think, maybe 7 years ago, it was a long time ago, 1 year we did do a marathon meeting, couple meetings, and interviewed every single person, whether a reappointment or not. So it's certainly possible.
The other thing, Clark, is that you may find that you'll get to know some of those people because they come often and present. Some of these groups present to this board over the course of the year, so you'll know who to ask about how to connect with people.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you meant, Clark, that you wanted to just meet them or you wanted to interview them.
Well, I guess if they're already on the board, I just find it hard to reappoint somebody or vote someone who I actually have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Because they're right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
No idea.
It would be nice to, at a minimum, meet them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, and it's certainly, we can do that by going to their meetings. Yeah. Right. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I'm totally agreeing with you. But for right now, this is our board of boards and commission slate and our liaison slate. So, all those in favor, please say aye. Do we need a motion on this? Yes. We did. We have a motion to accept? We already moved. Did we already do it? Yeah. We already did it. Yeah. All right. Okay. I just wanted to do all of them 3 times.
Gosh, what
all
time
those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstaining, please indicate. So, all right, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, and welcome to new board members. All right, what's up next? The manager's report.
Yes, thank you. And I do have a number of action items this evening, and I'll try to move them quickly. In the first instance, we need to reappoint or appoint fire wardens. We generally have two, the fire warden and the deputy fire warden. We are looking to reappoint Henry Higgins as fire warden and Matt Hathaway as deputy fire warden. These appointments must be to the state by July 1, so I'm looking for a motion to make that appointment, and I have two documents to circulate. Both are the same. Unfortunately, they only have 5 select board member signature slots, so we just need 5 of you to sign, including the chair. It's a state.
Can I ask you, is this a yearly appointment?
It is a yearly appointment, yes.
So why don't we add them to our boards and commissions so that we do that reappoint instead of doing it outside of the other boards and?
Well, it's interesting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it something different?
Essentially, what we are doing is making a recommendation for an appointment. The actual appointment comes from the Agency of Natural Resources, Department of Forest and Parks. So we recommend these individuals, then they are appointed formally by the state.
And can you tell us why we're recommending these individuals?
These individuals have been serving as fire warden and deputy fire warden for at least 5 years now, and doing a pretty good job.
A very good job, I'm sure. All right, do I have a motion?
Heard no complaints, I suppose.
To this effect?
I motion we accept Mr. Kerr's recommendations for appointment to the zoning.
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you very much.
I'll start these down.
Okay.
There are two documents for you to sign. The next is an equipment borrowing. We are now working with TD Bank, and their approach is slightly different. And so I'm just looking here for a motion to approve the borrowing totaling $276,831 for a 2024 Western Star dump truck and a 2024 GMC Sierra service truck. There are loan documents to be signed. We are not faced with the whole waiver policy, but this does require the chair's signature on one page and board signatures on 2 other pages that I have already marked. I believe. No, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself. I just need a motion to approve that borrowing. No signatures required.
Okay.
Stu, I have a question on the GMC Sierra service truck. Is that different from what was listed in the warrants, $80,000 for that vehicle? Or is
No, that is the vehicle that you have approved the purchase of. This essentially validates that purchase for TD Bank.
okay. I was confused whenever the loan, it's not a loan, it's outright purchase.
Well, actually, in this particular case, yes, but we're purchasing it with borrowed funds. What our warrant will show is the purchase, $80,000, with borrowed funds. We will be paying that out over a 7-year period. So TD Bank is loaning us the money, we're paying full cash for the vehicle, but we'll pay back the loan over the next 7 years.
Yeah, it was confusing because I thought I heard a discussion earlier in the interview that basically due to our investments, financial help, we had $80,000 to buy this truck.
Yes, and I misspoke on that. I jumped ahead of myself once again. The GMC is part of the borrowing, and I was in error on that comment.
That was confusing me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I was obviously confused myself.
So there's only one 2024 GMC Sierra service truck?
Yes, there is. Only one.
Okay. So we need a motion, yes?
We need a motion to, I'd like to make a motion to approve the equipment borrowing as proposed by the manager.
Is there a second? Thank you. All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you. Now we get to the one that needs signatures. As you know, we are moving forward with an additional PFOA project. This is the one where they are investigating the neighborhoods in the South Shire, so-called, and Hickory Hill. Here again, the state is proposing to loan us the money, interest-free, essentially unreimbursed, but we must allocate the funds through a loan through the bond bank, and that's how the state is operating this particular project. All PFO projects have been this way. So I have a loan document for $80,000 from the Vermont State Revolving Loan Fund. It requires board signatures on 2 pages and the chair's signature on a page. They are all appropriately marked, and I need a motion to accept the loan, waive the reading of the resolution, and circulate this document for signatures.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, for purposes of discussion,
Thank you. All right, discussion.
if there is any.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you. I'll circulate those documents. And I apologize for all of this circulating and signatures, but it all comes at the same time. The last action item is a request by Turning Point for the Soberfest sponsorship. And in this particular case, they have a number of areas where they were looking for sponsors. However, the town has already determined that it will provide the Lower Willow Pavilion for the event, which is a 7-hour event, at a cost of $175. And the chief has agreed to provide them with 1 officer for that same period at a cost of $475. So we will be actually donating $650 to support this Soberfest event. And so I don't think we need any action because we are already essentially helping the development and actions of this event. So I am finished with my action items.
Comment. You mentioned the chief, I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's going to be providing an officer there. Could we make it quite clear that this is something that's important, not just for public safety, but again, I see it as community interactions and building confidence in our relations with the police department. I know a couple of things that popped up in the recent past, people's perceptions of the presence of police at a public event, and I think it's very important to make it quite clear that our officers are not only there as public servants, but there to build good relationships with the community. So I would like that perfectly clear. Officers are more than welcome to be there by ordinance, and
Yes, they are there by ordinance based on the numbers of people that are expected. In this case, the folks at Turning Point will be paying for 1 officer. We will be providing the 2nd officer at no cost.
any extra?
The Copsicle vehicle may be there. I leave that to the PD to figure out.
So, Stu, did Jonah speak to you about the Wywoods?
Yes, I was going to get to that
Okay,
under
it's
information.
changed.
It has changed.
Yes.
Yes, I was going to get there.
Okay.
Under the informational, we talked about having the Wywoods Draft Forest Management Plan, doing a public hearing on June 26th. Unfortunately, the county forester could not make that event, and it has been rescheduled to July 24th at 6 p.m. at the fire facility. So that plan has been pushed back. I know Joan has been pushing that information out on the website as well, but we wanted to make that announcement here tonight to try to make sure that people understand the change. One of the questions that came to us during the budget process and a little bit after, the legislature approved a child care contribution through Act 76 this year. It provides a 0.44% payroll tax on all Vermont wages after July 1, 2024. The impact on our budget will be a total of $33,700 on our $21 million budget. So it's not a huge impact. The state law did allow that you may pass on 0.11% of that cost to the employees. However, we do have two unions, Police and Public Works, and we did not want to reopen negotiations at this time, considering this small amount of the impact on not only the employee, but on the town. So I pass that on to you to let you know that we are in compliance with the law as it is drafted.
When did we reopen negotiations on the contract?
The police contract, I believe, expires in 2026. The DPW contract expires in 2027. So we'll be reopening negotiations probably towards the end of 2025 for police and the end of 2026 for Public Works.
So essentially, the next 2 years, the town is going to accept the burden of this.
Yes, and when we generally do negotiations, Clark, we look to the board to give directions to the manager as to what we are looking at for pay raises, benefit changes, any of those things before we enter negotiations. And of course, they come to the table with their list of requests and demands as well. We've had a very good relationship with both Police and Public Works unions over my entire 32 years as manager. And before that, but we look forward to a continuing good relationship with our employees.
Stu, is it calendar year or fiscal year?
We tie the contracts to the fiscal year.
Fiscal year, okay.
So they run July 1 to June 30 on an annual basis.
Hey, Stu, one more question on unions, Stu, I'm sorry. Are we tied to any other municipal organizations, or are our unions populated by only Bennington employees?
Our unions are only Bennington employees.
Thank you.
Our Public Works are AFSCME, American Federation of State and City Municipal Employees. It's a larger group, but our unit is Local 490.
Got it.
And the police are part of the New England Police Benevolent Association, which is based out of Boston. Many of the Vermont police departments have moved to this organization away from AFSCME because they're more police-centered and police-focused.
Thank you.
And I just have one last comment, and this has to do with the question of the, thank you very much, the Bennington Community Market and the conversations regarding the funding of the community market and its various employees. We have had conversations with now Senator Welch's office. We've also had recent conversations with HUD, who is overseeing these monies. They have both been in contact with one another, and will be in the near future releasing a formal statement indicating that the monies have been expended appropriately and that there is no ongoing investigation of the town or of the market at this time. And that's all I have.
Super. All right, upcoming agendas. Well, we will not disappoint. All right, so the next meeting, we have listening session, Ben High, BBC Work Plan and Budget, Rules of Procedure, so that'll be a draft for us to consider, Social Media Policy, which will be a draft for us to consider. This is for elected officials. And the tax rate.
Set the tax rate, yes.
And I don't know of anything else right now, but that seems, I'm sure things will come up, and that's a plenty.
Listening sessions. Did you say that?
I started with listening sessions.
Okay. I wasn't tuned in yet.
Yeah. All right, so, other business. Chart, no.
We're done with the chart.
No.
There won't be anything necessary.
No, because it'll be too soon to appoint the committee, right? We'll have a week off from charter committee. Okay, all right. All right. Other business, Nancy.
Other business, two things. First, this is a copy of the Bennington Town Charter, and on page 6, under further powers of select board members, it says the select board can inquire into the conduct of any officer, commission, or department and investigate any and all municipal affairs. still have questions about the community market situation. Personally, as a select board member, I feel that all we've been told is let's handle it, when clearly the charter says we can ask questions and look into it. And on a bigger note, I want to look into how the Community Development Department has been set up to operate over the past several years by various officials. I'm not happy with a couple of town officials deciding who the people and groups are they want to work with, and the public is shut out. The public doesn't have a say. Many times the select board doesn't even ask questions. So I do want this board to be able to ask questions and get answers directly about the community market situation and about how this community development office and the town office, that department is working. So I don't know how we go about that.
So I think I'm gonna hand this over to Stu in a minute, but I will say that first, there was an investigation by a third party of whether staff person behaved appropriately, and the allegations were completely unfounded. Second, Stu can speak more to the conversations that the town has had with both Senator Welch and HUD officials about the most recent allegations, and they are completely unfounded as well. But Stu, please.
Well, I've just said that. Nancy, I don't understand what else you think the board can do
I want to understand, because I believe that Shannon should have talked about that $200,000 loan, and I believe the board...
What $200,000 loan are you talking about?
I'm talking the whole situation that started with the community market. Where it started from, where it's going today, how I see a group splitting off. I question why we have a town official still so involved in this.
Nancy, first of all, we voted the earmark from Senator Welch's office. We had to vote to accept that money. I mean, it is a pass. It is the town facilitating that, but the select board was fully informed. So I really want to take issue with that.
I don't understand how we have town officials so involved. Still involved. I don't understand giving the vets home, getting them the grant last year. The official doesn't even talk to them until this year. So I just think this community market and this Fair Food Initiative, no one involved has ever come in here and talked.
Well, that's not true, Nancy. It was before you were on the board. The presentation was made for the entire Fair Food Initiative at this board. It was a $2.2 million earmark, I believe, and it was to fund a community market that did not exist at the time, so you had a group of volunteers all trying to get together to form it. It was to fund a veterans learning farming using the lands of the veterans home, so that's another entity that may form. I believe the Veterans Board has given its approval to form that entity and to work with the Conservation District and Shannon Barsati, the Community Development Director, who's the pass-through for these funds. So that may come forward in the future. There was a third entity that was going to be working to...
Regenerative food.
Yes, thank you. Regenerative food. And I can never remember that one. Unfortunately, that group was not able to pull it together, so that entity does not exist. So,
and there was a fourth, which was education, and some of that money went for a butchering class and another class at the tech center.
The people who were asking for the loan actually came here and talked about it.
No, it was presented by the Community Development Director and folks from the volunteers, essentially. I mean, it was a whole group of people that got together to try to pull this off. They sought funding through Senator Welch and the recent approval of earmarks. Senator Welch, who was a congressman at the time, put forth an earmark, was approved by the federal government. HUD now has the money, and we are a pass-through. I don't know what else to tell you.
So the processing plant, is that still going forward?
If I could ask a question of the chair, or make a comment, please, of the chair. This board approved the process when that grant was awarded. If there was question about the people involved, that wasn't discussed, nor is it relevant to discuss it now. A third-party investigation was conducted when questions were asked, and Senator Welch's office and HUD have all agreed that the money was spent appropriately. My questions were asked and answered. I don't think this board has any further input on this topic.
I agree, and I also think that, again, we're straying. Other business is to share other business, but it's not to discuss unwarned agenda items. The questions have, there is a very lengthy back and forth in the manager's report about information that's been shared. Was Shannon able to get you anything today, Stu?
No, other than a very brief conversation with the folks at HUD, where they indicated that they are meeting with Senator Welch's staff, and they will have something to us formally outlining what I've just told you.
Okay, and so, I mean, in the case, in the case of the initiative and the community market, we don't have to worry about a disinterested third party because we have HUD. And HUD is actually sending information confirming that everything is above board and everything is working as it should, and that they are not concerned. And so I think any other conversations that need to happen should start first at the level of Nancy and the town manager, you guys having a conversation, because this is not, it feels inappropriate because there's a lot of conjecture, and HUD and Senator Welch's office are saying they're not having any trouble with this, so that the trouble is actually brewing right here. And so that we need to, I think that means that there's lack of clarity about information.
I thought I read an article where the group had stated when the grant, not even this one, other grants they were looking at ran out, they were looking either for the town to fund it or local options taxes to fund it, and I'm thinking, why would the group...
Nancy, I have no idea what that is, but again, we're straying into discussion about something.
I do want to do something in how the whole community development department and the town office operates.
I think that we can certainly look at staff updates, which we have done in the past, and particular topics that are important to us. We can have staff come in and talk about how they, what their jobs are and how they do it. But it's not an opportunity to grill anyone. It's an opportunity for us to understand.
I'm not looking to grill anybody. I just want to know, before one of our officials start talking with a group of organization about a project or program, they come here and let us know.
It's their job, Nancy. It's their job.
We've had that conversation, and that's not at this table conversation. If you need to understand how community development office works.
Then answer me this.
But Dan,
So Nancy and others, it's important to know, and this department is particularly good at that there are bi-weekly updates to this board on what that particular department is doing in pretty decent detail. So if you have concerns about it, that's the time to raise it when you see something in that report that you may feel uncomfortable about. And I will point out that all of the initiatives that department follows have been authorized explicitly by this board. So you, as an individual board member, may not like something, but the staff has to act at the direction of the manager, who acts at the direction of the majority of the select board. So an individual select board member may have a problem with something, but that can't change our behavior because we have to do the bidding of the town manager at the direction of the select board. So I understand that you may be opposed with particular projects, but we cannot do anything other than what the town manager directs us at the behest of the select board.
Yeah.
And I would offer this, Nancy. I would think that you and Shannon probably should have a sit-down. She can go over the history. I think she has provided that history to the board
She
in the
did that
past.
training, she did a training with new select board members, so I know that was,
Well, probably not in the gritty detail, but
It was a good door opener.
yes, it certainly was.
yeah,
I
because you
agree.
went to it as well. Yes.
What was the purpose of...
Nancy, please.
Can we please move on?
This is other business, okay? So, okay.
I would just like to know why the word economic was removed from that job title after...
Okay, that we can do that outside, yeah, we'll do that a different time. All right.
Second thing.
It's been asked and
At the
answered.
last meeting, the Berkshire White, I'm sorry, not Berkshire White, Shires Housing was in to give an update. 3 seniors who rent from them at Corby Whitney spoke. They raised concerns about maintenance issues and the elevator. And I stopped up there last week to talk to some of the seniors because I said, I should have asked them, how long has this problem with the elevator been going on? They sat together and figured it out. They've been having issues with that elevator for 10 years. How is it possible that nobody at the local, state, or federal level had been up there? How, did anybody on this board, did you know about this too?
Not until I heard from the individuals at the meeting. I mean, they had an opportunity at any time to come to the local building inspector's office and file a complaint about the actions. They didn't do that. They chose this meeting or last meeting to bring it forward. Once it was brought forward, Paul Dancero has been attempting to get an inspection there. I think he's already probably been there. We have reached out to the Shires and offered them some of our housing monies in a loan so that they can move to fix that elevator fairly quickly rather than waiting for the grants and the line kind of credit that they are hoping to get. So we're working with them to try to correct the situation. It's a fairly expensive fix. We have an estimate of about $160,000, but we're working with them to make sure that happens. And I understand that the elevator is working now, but it is spotty at times.
The elevator works, and when it stops, they have to call maintenance. Usually somebody comes within an hour and starts it. For the amount of time that this town has worked with Shires for the past 20 years, the fact that this has gone on up there for 10 years, and nobody thought it should be a priority to address it?
Nancy, if there's, okay, so you made your statement.
This is
Yeah.
our
Okay.
partner.
Yep.
And no senior living up there, paying to be in a building with an apartment, should have been putting up with that. They have people over the years who are in wheelchairs, they have 2 people now, totally dependent.
Nancy, I'm not sure anyone disagrees with you, but I think now people are aware of it and people have stepped forward to try and solve the problem.
They spoke,
So-
and the town staff is taking action. That's
So-
terrific.
Yeah, they're trying to assist. So I think we're all in agreement that it's a terrible situation, and we're all in agreement that something should happen as quickly as possible.
Well, I think we owe to the people of Bennington to make sure that our partners are having their buildings up to code and they're maintained and they're safe for the people living in Bennington.
And there is a mechanism for doing that, and now that it's come to our attention,
Well, they
we're
never
doing
should
it.
have had to put up with it for 10 years.
Okay. Sarah, anything?
No, I'm set.
Okay.
Take my voice.
Okay.
Nothing from me.
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay. Couple of things. Well, really only one thing. But it goes in hand in glove with some of the things we've discussed tonight and even the listening sessions. One of the things I really, really would like, and I think I sent an email to this effect, I think one of the most important things is educating people on how government functions. And the grant process, how does it happen? From ground zero to right up the actual disbursement of funds, monitoring. I would really like to have a public briefing, a detailed briefing on the grant process. So when people hear these things, and I think a lot of what we're concerned about or concerns that have been expressed to me by community members are predicated on lack of knowledge. People don't really know how things happen. And I think the best thing we can do for the public is provide education, information for them, so they have these questions and concerns we can answer them. And I think in general, whether it be dealing with grants or getting the streets paved, the most important thing we can do on the select board is educate people. So if any way possible, we could put together some sort of public briefing on the actual grant process, who initiates it, who monitors it, how it's processed, and so forth. I would think that'd be a good thing.
Great, I think that's a great suggestion. All right.
I do have a thing that I forgot. I would just like to remind the community that our Pride Parade is this coming Sunday. Parade kicks off from Hemmings at noon, block party to follow.
Thank you.
Stu, this is kind of for you. I was going to mention it during the manager's report and did not, and maybe I should have, and if I should have, I apologize. But I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but was everybody hearing a big boom like every 20 seconds? And I was wondering if it was the hail cannon, and put your mind in rewind. I remember being at a meeting here where there was discussion about the use of the hail cannon. Can you just...
It is the hail cannon.
It was the hail cannon?
Yes, it is.
Didn't we stop it?
I thought...
No, it must comply with our noise ordinance. So if people are hearing it and they have a complaint, they should call the Bennington Police Department. The department is equipped with decibel meters. They will go to the site, put the decibel meter up at the property line. If it exceeds the decibels allowed by the ordinance, the police will put a stop to it.
So is it only decibel level, or is it the duration of...
It's decibel level
The
only.
use.
That's what the noise ordinance deals with.
That is really problematic.
Is there no other way to do, I mean, our police force is already overtaxed. I just see, is there no other way we could deal with this other than, taking the police and having them drive all the way to the apple orchard?
That's the way the previous board chose to deal with it. I don't know whether you'd want to care to try to draft an ordinance to prohibit it. The unfortunate part is the folks that use it believe it works, but there is no scientific evidence that we're aware of that firing off a hail cannon before a thunderstorm prevents the storm from intensifying. But that's the purpose. It's to
I know
prevent
that.
the storm.
Are we the only community in the state that uses a hail cannon?
We don't use, it's the owner of the property that uses a hail cannon.
No, I get that we're not.
Oh,
doing it.
okay.
I know, but I mean, we're the only community facing this. I mean, I'm just thinking maybe there's an ordinance someplace else that could be more helpful.
I don't know of one.
All right, so if anyone wants to research hail cannon possibilities, we're all for it. We're all for it. Okay. Yeah, somebody want to make a motion? Oh. Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Tom made the motion, Nancy.